up,
And
Hey.
we are live.
And we are live.
Let's rock.
What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? Kid Kool-Aid.
Hey,
What up, though, man? How you feeling, bro? You gotta talk to the
good.
people.
What's
I'm
going
feeling
on?
really good.
You're doing
look,
really
he was
good.
out there hooping, bro. He was out there hooping. We got him out there kind of working on the crossovers, on the step backs, on the dribble drives.
Preparing
You got
him
him
for his
working on
Pistons
not
career.
waiting on the defense to get to him. If you're open in your hot zone, take the shot, no hitch. Right?
Absolutely. What up, though, everybody? Welcome to Woodward Pistons Table Talk, the OG Live Pistons Weekly Talk Show. I am your host, Sean Murphy, alongside my guys, Kid Kool-Aid and the OG tall pitcher himself.
Let's go.
Kool!
Hey, y'all already know. I had to rep.
You got the merch. I like it. Guys, it's good to see you. Also joining us is the man himself with Joey D, our guy, Steve. However you say his last name, man.
Yeah, shout out Money Train James, too. He said great work earlier, Steve.
Thank you, Money Train James. I'm glad you were there and check out the thing with me and Bryce Simon. If you don't know, just posted the first Woodward Pistons draft show on Scoot Henderson and the possibilities, not only for how Scoot would fit in on the team, but perhaps if the Pistons don't think that he is going to be the guy that they think he is or other people think he is, maybe there's some trade down scenarios. We go over a ton of them in there. So check it out. Happy to be here tonight.
Yeah. Hey, and that's a perfect thing to watch after this stream. So be sure and go check that out. Who did you say that you had joining you in your first episode on the Woodward Pistons draft show?
Bro.
The pride of Syracuse, Kansas, our own Motor City Hoops, Bryce Simon, you know him from Pistons Pulse, hosted with Amari Stankovic. They just did their first live show. I know Kool-Aid got to meet Bryce and the gang, his wife down there in the D. Did some fantastic coverage when he was there too. And definitely go check out their live show. Find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you can find stuff.
Yeah, great work with the Pistons Pulse podcast.
Too.
And just Bryce is a great dude in general. And also their producer, Wes is a tank. My gosh. Like I saw a picture of him. I was like, Thanos? Like, holy cow.
He was like this.
I almost tweeted that he made Jalen Duren look like a centipede. But anyway, guys, we are here to talk about the Detroit
Sean Murphy, everybody.
Give
yourself some time, brother.
He was like, he's got some trunks on him, man. Like, I was like, for real. He's like, it's just the angle of the photo. I almost broke my nose just looking at it on my phone. Like, your muscles almost just smacked me right outside the screen. Anyway, it's good to see everybody. It's good to be here talking about basketball. And you know what? I want to set something at the beginning. There's been a lot of negativity, not only over the last week, but since October, like really since this season's began. And I know that there is a lot that people want to complain about. I know that there is a lot that are on people's minds. But let's remember that we're talking about a game, shall we? Like a game that we all love and a team that we all root for. Like at the end of the day, we're cheering about a game. So, like, let's stop being toxic, maybe. Like, for once. I know that's too hard to ask, but like, perhaps.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And look, guys, what Sean is saying is exactly right. Like, it's basketball. I never understood this component of vitriol. I never understood this component of just being disrespectful just to be disrespectful. I never understood this component of you can't just sit down and just, hey, whether I agree or disagree, we can at least sit down and respectfully, like, dialogue, respectfully get through the conversation, respectfully, hey, this is your point, this is my point, and move on, man. That's what it used to be, you know. I know, when Deuce was on here, that's how we grew up talking sports. It wasn't anything disrespectful or anything. whether we agree or disagree. That's why I absolutely love having Steve on his channel. Hold on. Who said it? Money Train James said it. My first intro to Steve, he pissed me off.
Get
I
in
love
line, man.
having him
Get in
a part of the
line. That's
game.
all I know. If I'm not pissing somebody off, I'm probably not doing enough.
Well, but here's
You
the
know,
thing I love about
But it's
Steve, though.
respectful, bro. Like,
Mhm.
I can understand it. You can understand mine. We can agree to disagree. And we talk, look, off screen. I tell Steve this all the time. Like, I love having you a part of this. I don't want a bunch of people sitting around saying, yes, Kool-Aid. No, I want people who, if we agree, we agree. If we disagree, we disagree, but we can all respect each other. And that's what it's about, man. Because this is a
The
family
part
at
of
the
the
end of the
debate
day.
that
We're
people don't see on this show is afterwards when we go off air and Steve and I look at each other and go, man, that was a really good debate. Like, even though he and I disagreed the entire time, like, those are fun because at the end of the day, like, if you do disagree, show your work. Show that your opinion has weight behind it. Show one thing that pissed me off in particular, like, I don't want to go on a whole rabbit hole, but I had one tweet that just blew up and got a lot of people riled up for some reason, where I quoted and said the NBA is moving away from big men. And I showed photos of the Celtics, the Grizzlies, the Cavaliers, and the Bucks. And people immediately were calling me an idiot and were like, well, those guys are like defensive players of the year. They could shoot the three. Which one's James Wiseman? I got all this stuff. And I'm like, you're all making an argument that I'm not making. My entire point was there's this narrative that big men are moving away from the game. But in fact, big men are evolving. And the only thing that's better than small ball lineups are big guys who can shoot threes. So what I was saying is, yeah, people can poo-poo on the too big lineup all they want, but the reality is a lot of teams are trying to do it because the only way you beat small teams who can shoot the three is being a big team that can shoot the three. That's just the way the league's going. Don't kill the messenger. My God. Also, I find it really funny that people only want to talk basketball with me through quote tweets, but that's a whole other interesting conversation. Anyway, guys, let's talk about the Troy Weaver letter that was.
Wait, I got to tease some things. Got to get.
Oh,
some
yeah,
things
absolutely.
I got some stuff here because you guys might see in the title. We also gonna be talking about these Dwane Casey comments. I almost said Dwayne Wade because we're gonna talk about Jaden and Ivey. We're gonna get to some player comps and what he's doing this season as a rookie. But I don't know if y'all can hear quite necessarily.
Back here and coach, or whatever decision Tom has and Troy has, for me,
Y'all hear that?
I'm not going to fade away or fade into the sunset or anything
Post-game
like that.
press conference last night, but Kool-Aid, where'd you get that audio from?
Oh, we were there. I was there in the room.
Oh, you were. Oh, it was you that record. Oh, you recorded that on your end. Oh, so like you're in the room.
Add the perspective to it. We're gonna add the perspective so that people can actually understand, rather than tweets, rather than just a quote. You can actually understand what the question was, what the context was, and you can get the perspective. I want everybody to actually know so that we're not sitting here chasing around. Oh yeah, no, money chain. I'm gonna explain it. I'm gonna explain it. I wish, because it was opening day and everything. I was downtown with the Woodward Sports crew, supporting the fam. Shout out to the shows. I wanted to be able to up the audio, basically compress it, clean it up a little bit, but I'll be able to kind of tell you guys some quotes and everything. It was telling. It was revealing.
I can pull up bits and pieces. They uploaded the interview on YouTube via Bally Sports Detroit. We can share the screen and at least just show clips and bits. I can find those if you'd like.
Yeah. Find those because we're gonna start with Troy Weaver. I just wanted to be able to tease Dwane Casey so that people can understand when we actually talk about this and we actually break this down. We're not talking from a standpoint of reading from somewhere else or whatever. The coverage team is we in the know, like we're in the room. And it was interesting to hear what he was stating, because it was something similar to the Troy Weaver letter that we're about to get into that we had kind of heard or intimated or kind of talked about before in the show throughout the season. But with Troy Weaver, he put out that letter to it wasn't necessarily the letter to the fans, but it was like an address, and he did address the fans and supporters and whatnot. And it was funny. It seemed like a lot of people out there, a lot of fans, a lot of observers just instantly kind of took to this letter as something cheap. To me, I like Rod Beard. He said this on the pod. Sean, he said that Mike Curtis hit him up and was like, Detroit News Pistons beat writer, and asked him like, "Hey, should I do anything with this? Should I write something about this?" And Rod was like, "Nah, that's not news." And Rod was like, he was sitting there like, "Wait, I only don't think it's news because we've been sitting here saying this the whole year. All year we've been saying Casey is not going anywhere during the year. All year we've been stating these are the things that they're going to do. When Cade went out, that was a big deal. Ivey's success was what they were really looking at this year, yada, yada, yada." So he's like, this is not a big deal to me. And then he said he sat there again. It was like, you know what? But everybody else in the world has been saying this is not what the season is about. Maybe it is a big deal. So I want to get you guys comments, remarks on the Troy Weaver letter. There's a lot of people kind of was like, "Oh, it's cheap." I think it reinforces that he believes it's a pivotal offseason. I think it reinforces that he knows he has to do something this offseason. I think it reinforces that he said that they positioned. This was interesting. And Rod said, listen to this. You want to talk about a professional writer? Rod's going to understand when professional writing is at hand. Rod Beard said they put this in here. They can't just come out and say that we wanted to tank. The NBA's changed the rules. So what did they say? We positioned ourselves for this draft pick. We positioned ourselves for this cap space. They know exactly what they're doing. That letter was Troy Weaver's. Basically, I'm not even saying, "Oh, hey fans, have pity on me." It was Troy Weaver saying, like, y'all aren't listening. Y'all are clearly, I've been saying this. I've been doing this, and y'all going to sit here now and act like this top draft pick in one of the most transformative drafts and all this cap space, and people keep saying, "Well, who are you going to sign? There's nobody out there." He don't sign people. He just acquires what he wants. It doesn't matter how he gets it here. He gets it here. He wanted Grant. He got Grant. Wanted Bojan. Got Bojan. And you know what? All the fans said we need a player more like Bojan than we do Grant. But I'll go to you guys on
even
this.
Kid Kool-Aid there went. But
exactly.
No, I think that this Troy Weaver letter exposed where I think a lot a collective of the Pistons community is missing the forest with the trees. I think the first of all, I think Detroit was faced with an interesting dilemma this season where they had a lot of young talent and, like we said, could have potentially competed for a play-in spot, but at the same time, if they doing so would position themselves outside of this generational lottery, puts them outside of this ability to go get another really solid young piece. And you talk about, what this team's done, which, by the way, I saw a post today of criticizing, Tom Gores over the past decade and everything that's happened. But you want to talk about what Tom Gores did do, actually started positioning this team towards, a long-term building program. And so one of the things Troy Weaver said in there, rebuilds aren't linear, right? Even we saw a New York Knicks team last year, after 2 years ago, after getting 4th or 5th in the East, was completely out of the play-in last year, came back this year, added another key piece. They became even better, right? Teams' progress isn't always linear. And once Cade's injury happened, that made Troy Weaver and the Pistons' decision a lot easier to say, let's develop our players. Let's focus on getting in the best draft position possible because, guys, let's face reality. You want to know why teams are going to regret not tanking this season? Go back and watch that clip of Victor Wembanyama putting back a dunk off his own 3-point shot. Go back and watch
that AI generated clip.
Yeah, something that literally Ronnie 2K said you can't even do in a video game is something that we have a 19-year-old doing in real life. So, I know the losing is sucks, but I would again say, unlike tanking we've seen before, where it's the trust the process Sixers, or even a couple years ago with the Oklahoma City Thunder, where they straight up took players off the bench of their G League team and fielded them on the court, right? Straight up just did that. They're actually putting out their young players to try and actually develop and get reps and go, even if they're not getting the minutes you want, they're still getting valuable minutes. So, to me, what this letter says, I saw people say this clearly means Troy Weaver's on the hot seat, forgetting that he literally just signed an extension before this season started, and that he's added more talent through the draft than any other general manager has in the Pistons in the last 25 years combined. But if you want to have that thought, go right on ahead. That's what came to mind for me when I read that letter.
And I'm gonna let Steve go next, but I do want to welcome in the young boy Charles. What's good, man?
What's up, man?
Charles, what's good? What's good? I'm glad you're able to be on the show again this week. I know last week. Listen, man, Bowling Green student. What's your major, bro?
Communications marketing. So, yeah, hopefully I stick with it. I'm thinking about changing my minor, but I think I'm gonna stick with communications for sure.
I know, stick with it, man. You got a future in it. You do.
Dude,
Definitely, like I said, last time he was on the show, Charles, I was very instrumental in the George Blaha interview. We have some more content coming up from that interview, and
that
look
baby
more
in
from
a
Charles. Yeah, and a lot more. Like I'm grateful for the way that the roster and the team is coming together. The Woodward Pistons family is getting bigger. There's gonna be a lot more content coming to the channel from a lot of really talented, dedicated, and well-studied people. Like people who are going out there and doing the work. Again, like it's crazy. You know, I don't even know if it's like the cool thing to do or not. But Steve, bro, proud of you, man. You know, your show, your first episode today dropping. If y'all haven't seen it after this one, definitely go and check it out on the channel. He is our draft guru on here, our draft expert, and he's been putting it down, man. So I'm grateful for it. And Charles, some of the others, Jaden, who's new to the Woodward Pistons family. These guys are coming in and they're hungry, and I can't wait to see where this goes. So
Hey,
brother.
I just want to say a few things. First of all, I don't have like a ton of time tonight. I got about a half hour to spare for you guys. I got a lot of I have a presentation due tomorrow for a Latino studies class that I'm not looking forward to doing, but so
Boy, be on the grind.
Sean, I saw one of your tweets today. I was looking on Twitter, and I saw I kind of laughed a little bit. You said something like you need to take a break from the app because there's like a lot of fans on the app right now, and I've noticed that. I've noticed that as well, and
a lot of grown men who know better that are acting like belligerent children.
It's really, really hard to not say something. I try
grown men.
Yeah, dude. I try to keep my composure and not like get into that stuff, but like I said, I completely feel where you're coming from. I've seen a lot of stuff on the timeline this week about that, and it's unfortunate, but that's just it is what it is. So I applaud you for wanting to take a break and step away from some of that for a little bit, because that's definitely, it can get overwhelming and toxic, and it sucks, but that's just part of the business, and it's it is what it is. But I just want to say, like I think everyone in this table talk agrees that you're you're literally a star, bro. Like your content's crazy. You're just, your voice is perfect. You're unbelievable with like what you know and your knowledge, and I just we all got your back. I was telling I was telling Kool-Aid this week. He was getting a little beef on Twitter, and I was like, hey, I got your guys' back. Like I'm always gonna defend you guys, because some of these fans just try to like come after us and act like they're smarter than us, and they don't know what they're talking about. And it's like you guys work way too hard and put too much effort into this to get absolutely crapped on like that. So I don't like seeing that stuff, and I'm always gonna have your back regardless.
Well,
I just want to say,
I don't get it on the scale, man. I appreciate that a lot, man. I don't get it on the scale that nearly guys like Omari do, or James do, or Rod has, or Mike does. Like the reality of it is, like a lot of people and fans specifically don't have the maturity and understanding to realize that specifically beat writers are not giving you information that is trying to upset you, or like trying to like a lot of times they're not even like giving you their opinion. They're just giving you the reporting in the news and the factual information of where the organization stands, what's going forward, what reports are happening, what conversations are like a lot of times, like they are merely relaying the communications of the team.
Yep. And you know why? Because usually that's all that they share with us. There are trends that we can track. There are things that we can look at from the past, but those press conferences and those media availabilities, and if you have tier one, the ability to try and talk to maybe one or two players after a game, that's what you get. Beyond that, it's if they decide to make any extra overture, and generally during the season, they're keyed in on the season. They're not keyed in on trying to come and make a writer's career or come and put something out there. No, they're more focused on trying to not get fired, but try to make sure that this team can get to where it needs to get. You know, that's a real stark reality, man.
So I want to ask specifically you two something, but I know that I'm not sure who this is in the corner. I can't really see. My screen's kind of small. So I don't want to like botch your name.
Steve, yeah.
What's up? All right. Nice to meet you, Steve. I don't know if we met before, if you were on the previous one, but my screen's a little small right now, so I can't really see your name that well. But I just wanted to say I've noticed like a lot of stuff in the timeline, not only about like the beef and stuff. I don't ever want to get into that. Kind of pisses me off. But I noticed a lot of stuff about Jaylen Brown coming to Detroit, and maybe that's a possibility because I know he's a free agent. And I just wanted to kind of ask you guys what you guys feel about that and if that is like a real possibility.
We'll definitely get there. We'll get there. Maybe we'll answer that question after Steve gives us his take on Troy Weaver.
For sure.
And before we get into the Dwane Casey comments.
Let's do it.
That is an interesting one. But Steve, yeah, what were your thoughts, brother, on the Troy Weaver letter? Was it shocking? Was it surprising? You know, what did it do for you, brother?
Man, I'm right with Rod. I'm like, this isn't news. But also I think I don't want to speak ill of like PR and like those kinds of things, but it's also bad timing, right? Releasing this, people are just mad. 16 wins, they might tie the franchise record for most losses. It's all this pent-up frustration.
But what is good timing though? Like that's
exactly.
Like when's a good time to admit that this season has been
the other thing was it happened on the same day where season tickets went, and I saw more than a few tweets from adults, not the ones that were reactionary, but the ones that were like, you know, I've been purchasing season tickets a long time. Like this is odd, and none of them said it was like bad, but they were just like, why now for this on the same day that happens? So I think that's part of it too, is like those things kind of like coincided and made some people just finally blow their top, right? And people who are just waiting to say fire Casey, and people who are just waiting to say everybody's trash and they want to blame everybody but the favorite player that they have, right? So, and again, you said it perfectly, Kool-Aid. We've been saying this forever. I started the year saying even with K, they're going to win 25 games because all of the language. Everybody talked about ground zero, right? Ground zero means you got nothing. Ground zero means you're starting the build. That doesn't mean you're winning like even 35 games, which would be a massive like build from there. They were saying now we can start to try to do something, not we can try to win. And they've been consistent with that. Everybody that's reported on this team, from Rod Beard to Amari Sankofa to James Edward III to our guy Kool-Aid here, they've all said the same thing. They are not pushing for the playoffs. They are saying we are having a year of experimentation.
We are learning to compete.
And like, if you're getting mad because you're like, well, you had a terrible season this year, you're supposed to try and win. It's like, you must not have been paying attention.
Steve, man, you're a star now, bro.
I saw James comment earlier. Welcome, Charles. But Steve, break my heart now. I just died laughing. I absolutely love it.
Bro, Jaylen, man.
Yo.
This brother, bro, this dude, that's what I'm saying. I love our young talent. Jaylen, have you met Charles before? Have y'all ever met?
No, we had an encounter we were on here before, right?
Yeah, they were on Table Talk together before.
I haven't met you in person, but
never in person.
Last Table Talk for sure.
Yeah, we had a good encounter on Twitter too about a couple of days ago. So yeah, we talked a couple times. Yeah,
bro, I'm not even gonna lie. I love Twitter, dog. I love it.
Yeah, it was cool.
Crazy.
Well, what's good, brother? Hey, look, man. I know you and Tony were blazing the town for opening day for the Tigers, man. I saw some of the pictures. How was it, brother?
Man, it was. I'm just getting back up, man. It was a long day. We got there at about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. You know, a lot of tailgating. Just walking around. I was vlogging. You know, filming, just meeting everybody. It was a lot, but it's our second straight opening day, so it was good for us though. The game could have went better, but you know, nonetheless, it was pretty good though. I'd say.
Jaylen, I just remember us just screaming in the outfield after the walk-off last year, like you, me, Tony, like we were all out in the we were like right next to the wall. We could hear it and like the ball hit the wall, the ball hit the wall. We were all freaking
that game
out.
was crazy, man. I think it's crazy. I took a nap in the middle of that game, Sean. I was so tired that day. I was knocked out. Woke back up. Ivey hits that foul, and he's hit the wall, and then it was like the best feeling. And then this year I wish it was like that, but yeah, that was a cold day, I think, man. So yeah, today was cool. It was a little windy, but I had a ball. It was 100% full experience. Saw Woodward. I saw you guys. A lot of my friends. I know. A lot of my Detroit sports world friends. It was cool.
Yeah, that was dope, man.
I will say really quickly, I love the pitch clock. Infatuated with the pitch clock.
Makes the game go by so fast.
Oh my gosh, it makes every at bat is just clean and precise. There's nowhere that like standing for like 45 seconds chewing your gum and then like finally positioning your bat, and then like they have to talk about like the broadcasters have to talk about their putting game like at some point because there's just so little to talk about because the game drags on so long.
So Sean, I've seen like a lot of stuff on Twitter because that's funny you bring that up. I've seen like a lot of stuff saying like if you get like a snack and go to the bathroom, the game's almost over. Like, does it really feel that fast, or like
cuts it down by after the reason why they implemented it is because in minor league they actually did it in minor league for about a year or two, I believe, and they found that it cuts the game down by 30 minutes. So it goes from being like 3 hours on average to about 2 hours and 30 minutes on average. Games could be as short as 2 hours now.
Especially if nobody's hitting the ball, like, if it's like a, quick in and quick out, 1, 2, 3, like it's a great game. Today wasn't that long either. We had a couple rough innings, but like that pitch clock is one of the new things.
18 seconds?
Yeah, 18. A couple times Boston didn't make the count. And that's it. Every time you don't make the count, it's an automatic ball. So I think it's automatic ball, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But it was a good game, man. It went by pretty fast. A little windy, like I said, but that pitch clock made it a lot better to me. So I agree with Sean on that one.
Yeah, I was talking to who was it? Was it Maz, I believe? He said he went to a game and it was like felt like it was like that. Cut out like 30, 40 minutes of the game and it made it way more. No.
Oh, it's great.
My fault.
It's great. I love it. It's fantastic.
Vince,
get out of that 30 minutes, get a hot dog. It's fantastic. It's great. Sorry.
Yeah. Cut it off 30, 40 minutes. I think Vince Ellis from the Pistons, Platinum Equity, he said the same thing. Went there and it made baseball just much more digestible for him. He likes baseball, but he said he fell out of love with the game because of just how long and just laborious, and he said, quite frankly, boring it got. So, I'm kind of glad to see it because this is a summer that I want to be back on board with the Tigers, even if they're not the best. It just feels like a good summer to kind of get back into baseball, get back into Tigers. So,
yeah,
sheesh.
Absolutely.
I want to get
also to the shift. Rest and piss won't be missed. Anyway, back to Troy Weaver.
Any more comments on the Troy Weaver letter? I think it's like kind of
we didn't get Jalen's thoughts. I don't think. Jalen, what were your thoughts when you read the Troy Weaver letter? Where are you at right now? I see you rolling your eyes.
I will preface. If you didn't hear it, do you want to hear our comments first?
Yeah, let me hear it. Just like give me a little quick, summarization of each comment. Hey, Steve. How you doing, buddy?
I said pretty much I pretty much echoed like kind of like what Kool-Aid was alluding to is that it's literally everything we said all throughout this year. I get, and for me, I get fans are frustrated, but I kind of compared, like the New York Knicks over the last few years, how like the year that they lost to Trae Young in the playoffs, they're like around the 4th seed. Last year, they're inconspicuously like out of the playoffs. Like they looks like they need to trade Julius Randle. What in the heck's going on? And they go and add a key piece, get some salary cap room, and then all of a sudden they're right in the mix in the top of the East again. Like, I just think, like when Troy Weaver says like rebuilds aren't linear, like team, like I think a lot of times we look at team construction in the NBA, we think it's the same as the NFL. It's just not.
Now, so how much salary cap do we have in this upcoming offseason?
We have about upwards of $40 to $50 million in cap space.
Yeah, it's about
but the thing is, we also have tradable contracts that can open up more cap space if need be. So, Yep. So I get people's frustrations, but at the same time, when the expectations shift to development and you look at how the development has gone this season, in my opinion, like another thing is you can't have it both ways of, man, I love how Jalen Duren and James and Jaden Ivey developed this season, but man, like Dwayne Casey has no idea what it's doing. Like, really? There's no connection there? You don't think like the coach who's supposed to be teaching, you don't think that's what he's doing? Like when there's clear evidence that he is, like,
Yeah. I mean, in the press conference last night, that's what he said, that objective number one on the season was Jaden Ivey and his development. And so he stated last night, and I guess we'll kind of get into Dwane Casey, but I want to get Jalen's comments on the Troy Weaver letter first, before we get into that. So I'm gonna hold off. I want to get yours. What I was stating with Troy Weaver was similar to what Sean was saying. All year we've been told this was a development season, especially after K went down, that they wanted to learn to compete. Like Troy Weaver, and I had to go back and make sure I was specifically getting the comments right. Troy Weaver said they're trying to learn at the point or the level of learning to compete. Like when Memphis was, you could tell, okay, they're headed in the right direction, but they weren't necessarily what they are today. Casey said that they're ready to compete nightly, and the players said we're trying to make the play-in the playoffs. So those are the levels of the things. But the mastermind at the top, the GM, at the beginning of the season, effectively stated we're not quite there yet, and he thought that the team was impervious. Like I don't know if they anticipated Cade getting hurt, but they anticipated being in a position to where they were impervious to some injuries, and effectively injuries took them out again. So I assume part of whatever they do next year is going to be about making this team much more deep and making it less less dependent on Cade Cunningham if he's out. Like we see some of these other teams like Memphis, the Phoenix, and other teams, they miss their guy, they still go. Boston missed some guys, their team still goes. But that was kind of the premise of it. But what's your take? I look, Jalen, Steve, they offer kind of these kind of unfiltered takes, and I appreciate it sometimes.
Well, I've been doing much better lately. I've been my comments have been a little, censored. No viewer discretion. I felt like he didn't have to say what he said, but it's a lot of fans out here who just nag and they want to say, oh, the Pistons didn't do nothing this year and all that stuff, and it's just like, look at who we didn't have nothing to work with. Our best player goes down, who was taking a crazy leap from what we saw the first few games, and when he goes down, things like that, and then the whole vibe is off. So I feel like as a GM, he did the right thing to like address it. But real fans and people who understand how it works understand, it's basketball. People get hurt. The plan, like, we talked about it, I was big on, him, but I understand too, the plan is not going to work overnight. And this summer is one of those, like, let's see what can happen, get some draft picks. If Ivey was the plan, to develop, I think he, did pretty good second half of the season. But for him to say, we didn't, we didn't do the job we were supposed to do this year, like, we understand that. As fans who want to be hard on say, we were supposed to be better. Obviously, yeah, but you can't win or, compete when your best player is off for the year, or stuff like that. So I'm not mad at it. I just feel like for the fans who don't understand, like, that was for them. But for like us and other people that understand how like the game works in the front office and injuries and life, I'm not too mad about it.
If there's anything I feel like he was really trying to convey in this letter, not only to the diehards but also to like the casual audience as well. Like I feel like a lot, like a consensus over the last few weeks, even just like over like the last couple months, is people saying like, this is a really big summer. Like this team has to like take a leap next year. Like Troy, like I felt like this letter was Troy Weaver saying, I know exactly what this summer is. In fact, we've been positioning ourselves for this summer. Just you wait. Like I feel like that was him. And like, that's not even to say that they're going to go out and make crazy moves, but it's like this is like, it's him saying, yeah, this is a foundational summer.
But what has everyone been saying? Bojan Bogdanovic said crazy moves ahead. Ashton, the trainer, said some crazy moves ahead. Casey said some moves are ahead. Troy Weaver is now put in print. moves are ahead. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Do you guys think that letter maybe created some false expectations from a lot of fans, like in terms of like what they're gonna do this summer and like you know what I mean? Like kind of what I'm saying, like if
if there's gonna be a letdown or not.
Yeah, like no, I'm saying like I think going off what Sean said, like I think fans are expecting a big summer, and if that doesn't happen, which is very unlikely doesn't happen, but if certain moves aren't made, then maybe you know what, like I think you guys know where I'm going with this, but
I think so. Yeah. So let me answer your question. So like I think so. Like, do I like? Am I saying expect the Pistons to go out and make a Donovan Mitchell type trade this summer? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Like when I say this is like a big summer for this team, it's very much in the draft selection that they're making, and also they can make foundational pieces. Like it could be names like we talked about before. Jeremy Grant, it could be Cam Johnson, it could be like significant pieces, like really good NBA players. Like people might look at it and go, oh, it's not Jaylen Brown, it's not Donovan Mitchell, but it's like you got to think about how much capital you actually have to go out and like make that type of move happen. Like if you look at what Cleveland gave up, they gave up Lauri Markkanen, who was an all-star this year, Colin Sexton, who was a top 10 pick. They gave up their first round pick from this year, and then they gave up four more first round picks. Like in order to go get that type of star, you have to give up like significant capital, and that is like a dramatic move. Like that's like the biggest move Cleveland's ever made. Kind of dramatic moves. Like I just want to like yes, like it might not necessarily be an all-star, but like there's damn good players you can go get this summer.
To be fair, I think we already have 2 future all-stars on the team.
Well, but like at the same, you have players that you believe can be future all-stars, but like you still are in the talent acquisition stage, 100%.
No, I agree.
Yeah, you're still in the talent acquisition stage, but you are depending on Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey becoming the stars of this rebuild. The whole theme of the rebuild beyond the restoration has been that they have to depend on internal growth. If they don't have internal growth, we know what Detroit is. So to Sean's point, we know that they can augment well. We've seen Troy Weaver already do that. Go out there and get busy and bring in role player Palooza. He can do that. What you need, a pick and roll big, got you. You need a big that can shoot, got you. You need a 3-and-D wing like Jeremy Grant, got you. You need you want a wing that can just shoot the three, I got you. He can go out there and do that all day. They got Bojan for what purpose? Does anybody remember why they said they actually got Bojan Bogdanovic? To complement Cade Cunningham's game.
Mm-hmm.
These are the types of moves he was doing. If you're getting a guy and you're paying him about $20 million a year to complement your rookie or your second-year player, it's because you think that guy is going to be a star. And so, you want to see these guys take that step forward, and that's why year 4 is going to be one in which if they're learning, now they're resetting, they're learning to compete, it's going to be very hard to gauge where they're at in terms of how many wins they're going to have, how good they should be. But with what I'm seeing from Cade Cunningham, what I saw from Cade Cunningham, what we're seeing from Jaden Ivey, what we're seeing from Jalen Duren, if he can make certain steps forward, man, it feels like this team is supposed to be good with those 3 players some years down the road. It just does. And he doesn't have to necessarily make the splashes that some people think Detroit is going to have to make.
Yeah.
I think we, as fans, I keep going to this, but like the letter, it was a respectful way of saying, I hear you. I think kind of like what Sean said, like, we know this has to be a big summer. He knows it for sure. So in that letter, it was a respectful way of saying, I hear all the haters. I hear everything. Like, trust me. But
that was his professional way of saying, hold my beer.
Literally, and people would say a big summer, oh, we got to get Victor. We got to get you, like you said, JB from Boston. A big summer could just be getting a great, above average wing, 3-and-D, some good draft picks, and a couple of assets. But to another person, they be like, oh, we didn't get a superstar. We don't need superstars. We need to fill the key pieces that what we don't have. And it could be, a B+, A- grade of a summer. That's still fine. But yeah, that letter was little. It was probably like a shade towards, like, I hear you. I trust me. Like I'm working. Just let me cook, So
That was
Well,
my first thoughts on Wednesday, bro. As soon as that letter came out, that was it. It was Troy saying, "Yo, I hear what you guys are saying, but you're not
yeah,
hearing
because
me."
like I saw people saying that like Troy Weaver's just praying for lottery luck and that there's not an actual plan. This is him going, no, there's a plan.
And that's the thing. If we weren't hearing this, I like look when we do our huddles, when we talk about it, and when we game plan, the same thing Rod told me. He's been in this industry a long time. Same thing I told you guys. Listen to everything that they say. They're going to tell you their plan. And then he puts it into a letter after a full year of us stating and reporting what they're telling us their plan is. They told us when Cade Cunningham was development. Bojan Bogdanovic went on Hoops Hype. You can Google it. Bojan Bogdanovic Hoops Hype. He went on there and said when Cade Cunningham went down, that ruined everything. All of our offense was catered around him. Then people say, well, why would you cater offense only around Cade? Because at that time, who else was here? We didn't even have Bojan. We got Bojan like a month before the season. We didn't have Ivey at the time. We didn't know what he could be. We had questions about him. There was nobody, bro. It was Cade and it was a Sadiq who we knew we don't even know if you put the ball in Sadiq's hands, if he can effectively run the pick and roll, which was our only offense. Our only offense. So the identity was Cade Cunningham. And quite frankly, it still was up until we saw, yo, Ivey is actually a Justice League member, not a Teen Titan. That boy is Superman, not Superboy. He's a grown man too. I see Steve over there, but still, yeah, like that's the reason why everything fell apart and broke. It's because they came into the season with a game plan to say we believe that we can make some noise with Cade Cunningham. And anybody wants to dismiss the post All-Star game stretch from Cade Cunningham's rookie season, you just can't. If it was only stats, like how we have to accept with Ivey, Ivey's stats post All-Star break are crazy to me. They're good. I don't think it's what anyone expected to start the season, but we can't put necessarily, well, we see a correlation of wins with it. With Cade Cunningham, we saw this team go from a 200 win percent team to a team that was winning about 400% or 40% of his games in the post All-Star, 10 and 14. That's a big jump while he took a huge leap. So it's, these are things and components that the organization and that players and that the coaches and that the GM has talked about all season, man. All season. And it's not like they're sitting on their hands. How quickly did they say, hey, Killian, bro, we know we just drafted you, but we're about to draft another guard and not just that. Can you come off the bench, please? Bro, if this was previous teams, Killian would probably be getting prepared for like a pseudo max contract or some like being like golden like cowed into some protected role. Instead, this GM is like, yo, I like you, I love you, but we got to continue this thing on. And this is one caveat here. We talk about Cade Cunningham, but people don't understand the reason why you can't just go out there and splash money on long-term deals. Who has to get paid in a couple years? Cade Cunningham.
Not only Cade, but you have the contracts of Isaiah Stewart, Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, and those are just the players that you feel pretty comfortable are going to be here over the next few years. That's not even talking about the ancillary pieces, which, by the way, all the people complaining about all the time that James Wiseman and Marvin Bagley are getting don't recognize the fact that if they're going to have any form of trade value, that they actually have to have tape to present, stats to show. Like there actually has to be something to present. So like if a guy like Marvin Bagley has a contract with money that's over $12.5 million a year, that a team can actually swallow it by saying, okay, we actually saw this guy play. You know what I mean?
RB the baller. Hayes has not been eating off a silver spoon since he got here. If that was the case, he would have been force-fed starter. They tried. They put him in positions to succeed. They tried. They're like, just bring the ball up the court and hand it to Blake Griffin. And then don't do anything. Just run over there. We think you can shoot. And then that didn't work. And they were like, oh, crap. Well, then we're going to have you work kind of behind the scenes with your handles and all of this. Oh, you got some facilitation to you? Well, then, yeah, when you get the rock, make sure you push the ball all the time. And then that kind of worked for it. But was it enough to start? No. Even next to Cade Cunningham. I don't even understand that. You couldn't start next to Cade Cunningham. They didn't silver spoon him. They said, you got to come off the bench, brother. And then what they do, they went and drafted another guard. And then they might draft another guard. They're not silver spooning anyone. I like the way that Troy Weaver is saying, I'm drafting guard after guard after guard. I'm drafting big man after big man and signing them. I know I can go out there and get whatever wing. I experimented 1 year with a 3-and-D. The next year I went with a 3.1. This year I might get both because I got Bojan here. I can realistically go out and get Jeremy Grant if I want, or I might get Brandon Miller or Cam Johnson, or he set himself up to be able to have a great summer, and we just have to hope that this is not a repeat of the BG. Man, what the heck is up with Ben Gordon? That's a whole nother story. But we have to hope that this is not the Ben Gordon and Charlie Villanueva offseason. Knock on wood, bro.
This won't be.
So Kool-Aid, going off that, I know we're not really discussing this right now, but you kind of said something about it, so I just want to go off of what you said.
Definitely.
Do you think this kind of goes like for everyone, but do you guys think that Troy Weaver is gonna, depending on the draft position we get, do you think he's gonna draft based on need or just best player available?
He's been drafting best player available.
Okay.
Or at least it seems like that. I'm gonna defer to Steve on that one though. What do you think you've seen based on Troy's pattern here that you think he may do if he's at number 2? Is he going with the presumed best player available in Scoot Henderson, or is he going with what many assume to be the best fit in Brandon Miller?
I think it's more best player available. Like a lot of people had Killian as the top point guard in that draft class, so he went there. And I should put a star asterisk on this. In the lottery with his first pick, he's going to go to the best player available or whoever he perceives to have the biggest upside, which really hasn't gone against the consensus by and large. Again, Killian was considered by a lot of people to be the top point guard in that class. Even guys like Rafael Barlow thought he would have a better career than LaMelo. I was one of those people as well, too. So LOL to us. We take that L, wear it right here on the forehead, you know.
I love Steve.
But again, there were a lot of people that had him up there. And then the next year, Cade Cunningham, even though they flirted with Evan Mobley, even though we know now Troy has said himself, he loves centers. He welcomes all the jokes. They still went with Cade, even with the bad workout supposedly that he had, they went with him. And then last year, again, a lot of people had Ivey in the top 3. So, bam. But we don't know where they had Keegan Murray either. I don't know if there was a lot of people that say Keegan Murray there. So it would have been interesting to see if they both were on the board.
Killian Hayes was working out with Will Bynum. He was working out with Will Bynum, and he did have some connections to Detroit through Lakeland and such. So they thought they had some things figured out from an NBA's perspective. Can he play against any aspect of NBA physicality? What is Will Bynum seeing on the ground and being part of his training camp? And so that kind of matters to a degree, but I do get it. To be fair, they did state, though, when they drafted Killian, he was more in line of being a project. They didn't draft him to kick off the actual, like, yo, this is our star player of the rebuild. Were they going to stop him from being that if he claimed that himself? No. But the comments out of their own mouth was that Killian Hayes was somebody that they thought could be one of the foundational pieces to the restoration. And he can be. If he's a 10-5-5 type of a guy, 12-5-5 guy off the bench on a reasonable contract, and you got your starting backcourt as well in Cade and Ivey, that's not bad, especially if they told you from the get-go he's a development type player. We want to kind of see where we can take this guy, this kind of big, 6'5", those point guards we were drafting 2K and like, somewhere anywhere in the mid 2000s, man. That 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" point guard, got the little saucy handles, can throw the lob and all of that type of stuff, can play a little bit of defense. He has some tools. He has some skills. It's up to Killian though. At the end of the day, it is up to him. I think they made a decent choice, but obviously with Tyler, with what a Halliburton is doing, that's always going to be something that just stings. It just is. I didn't want to believe it. You talk about the wearing the L, bro. I refuse to believe that Halliburton was going to be like that much better. I could take if he's a little bit that much better than Hayes, though. I didn't think it was going to be, and now it's just like, wow.
Yeah, there are very few people that had Halliburton that high, so don't come out here and be like, oh, I had him.
No one thought he was going to be an MVP candidate, 28 point a game scoring, overall,
Nobody.
like SGA-esque court control type guy away. Like I know like a lot of people are still like like really happy with the DeMontis Sabonis trade to Sacramento, and I know
Yeah,
they've looked
RB,
phenomenal
your
so
comment
far.
had me busting out too, by the way.
Indiana's going to win
Rapping that,
the
yo. I agree
Indiana's
with
going to
that.
win the war.
Kool-Aid. Can you
I
hear me?
want to introduce you, bro. What up, fam?
Hey, so where do Killian stand at when you got a healthy Cade and Jaden? He'll never get in, man. He'll never get the minutes he deserves. He'll be a 6-man forever as long as they're healthy.
Yeah. No, I think his ability to start that path has been blocked. It's been, and he got the chances, and that's a good thing on this organization. It's not hating on anybody. Like, it's a business.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But it's. I feel like previous organizations would have just been like, well, we have our guard that we drafted with the number 7 pick. We can't pick another guard in the lottery. We have to just now go and get a center, even if it's not the best player available. It's just the fit. And that's the things that we saw previous GMs do. This GM is operating more like Cleveland. I'll be for real. I laughed when they took back-to-back guards. You know, when they took those guards, Garland and Sexton. I didn't know what they were doing. I was like, you already got a guard, but because that's just the way I was used to seeing GMs do things. Now we got Troy Weaver coming in here like, I'm taking several high-level guards, and then I'm putting you guys all in a pit. Y'all figure it out. Like, yo, he really put Cade and Ivey out there with Hayes, who's still trying to figure it out. I was like, what in the world? And then he went and said, hey, Bagley, good job. Here's your deal. Good job. Stu on the team too. Hey, I'm drafting Duran. Hey, we're bringing in Noel. Hey, Wiseman, come over here as well. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of like it. And you're right. Like, somebody, Bryce and others have, Bryce Simon of Motor City Hoops, they and others have posed, Rod Beard and others, if they go scoop, what does that mean for Killian?
Yeah, that's another question.
Yeah.
Hi, Jalen. You were waving?
I was saying bye, but you know, you can, if you want to interpret that how you want, then you know.
The first thing that comes to mind is that video of Draymond Green saying "Konnichiwa." That's what comes to mind if the Pistons select Scoot Henderson for Killian Hayes. That's what comes to mind. But
they need more big man. We overloaded with guards already, man.
Going to
We
the
need
shame.
another big man.
Well, so like in all seriousness, like, you know, Sam Vecini of The Athletic made the point earlier this year to any Pistons fan that would be concerned about drafting Scoot Henderson, you know, after drafting Cade and Ivey, you know, look at the situation in Philadelphia where, you know, consecutively they drafted Jahlil Okafor, they drafted Nerlens Noel, and they drafted Joel Embiid. They went out and they weren't afraid to go get those bigs. All three of them were bigs that were seen that could be potential stars. We ultimately know which one was the star, and they kept that guy, built around him, and traded the others for ancillary pieces. So, like, you know, like again, the reality of it is, I know all these people like, why do we have all these bigs? Well, it's like, again, no one even knows like which of these guys are going to be on the roster come this season. And the reality of it is, it all could be a moot point if the Pistons land and win that lottery, because Victor Wembanyama might change things just a little bit. A little bit.
No, a lot.
John, you got me over here rocking back and forth, man.
Like, I again, like, I don't want to tempt the basketball gods. I don't want to get any karma to go against Detroit. I'm just saying, Victor Wembanyama would dramatically change the equation.
Bro, you know what? I got all the stuff. You already understand, man. May 16th, man. Draft lottery show. Bro, can we get Kid J to do a couple songs?
Yeah, definitely, man.
Something, man. Yeah, we gotta get him involved. But May 16th.
Yeah, he actually he wanted to say what's up, man. He working on a mixtape. You know, he about to go down there with Steve Harvey this, next month or so. Yeah.
That's what's up, man. I keep seeing him. He's doing some big things. He was just on CBS as well.
Yeah, it was pretty dope interview. Yeah, appreciate it.
He's doing this thing.
Hey, I know you supposed to do it, Kool-Aid, but what's up, Steve? I'm Diamond Cut Management. I know my man, I know Jalen them. I know what up, bro. I know my guy in the corner with my other little homie with the Detroit Pistons on. Matter of fact, I ain't gonna forget. That's Balone, baby. That's Balone.
Hey.
Yeah,
hey.
like my son. Yeah, I got you.
Yes, sir.
I like that. But
then Big Sean, man, we love Sean, man. Personality, Sean, baby.
That's the OG, man.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Man.
I like that, brother. But hey, life has been good for you.
Life has been great, man. You know what I mean? Any day above ground, my dad used to say is a good day. You got time. Any time you're above ground, man, you got time to make something work, make something shake. So, unless you're sick, but then, I'm one of them people, man, that, I just go with the punches, man. Whatever's given, man. You really can't, some things you just can't control. So I just try to control what I can. You know what I mean?
Day by day, brother. Day by
Day
day.
by day. That's it.
But look,
minute by minute, hour by hour. If you old school, you'll know what that was right there. Day by day, minute by day, hour by hour. I don't know if that was Public Enemy, but that was somebody.
Hey, look, man, we got some Kid J fans in the comments, man. Money Train James, shout out to one of the regulars, man, the OGs in the comments.
What up, man? What up, Money Train? Appreciate you, bro.
Hey, Charles, bro. Last week I thought this guy was you. Shout out to Charles. Charles, meet Charles.
What's up?
He was like, I was like, yo, is this Charles? He was like, no, it's not Table Talk, Charles. But glad to be confused.
He said we not winning the lottery.
Man, look, we're gonna try to make it happen. I got Lucky the Bear tucked away right now. I had Lucky on the draft show. We got Cade. We had Lucky as well when we needed to get Jaden Ivey. And hey, it worked out for us. I'm gonna have Lucky the Bear there as well. May 16th, though. Hey, I need everybody who's at least in the chat. If you're going to be tuning into the live stream or if you're going to be there in person, we're still trying to figure out exactly where we're going to do that. If it's going to be at the actual studio, the Woodward Sports Studios, if we're going to do it at Imagine Theater in Royal Oak, which is the first place we ever did it, and it was live, or if we do it at one of the bars that we've done or restaurants that we've done some of our other live events and such at as a part of Woodward Sports. I'm actually trying to see if we can get this thing at the Midway too, Sean.
That's what's up, man.
That thing would be kind of dope, but we're just trying to figure it out. But if you're gonna be there, man, just definitely put in the comments that you're gonna be there. Please. I was definitely trying to gauge and get a feel for this thing so we can make the best decision. But we want to be able to interact with everybody. We want to be able to have a fun time. Want to be able to have some giveaways and some fan appreciation. So definitely May 16th, circle on the calendar. We're going to have everybody there from the Table Talk crew, Woodward Pistons podcast. Jeff Iafredi is going to be there as well of the Morning Woodward. And we're going to have Terry Foster, the legend. He's going to be there. We got people that's going to be coming through. Braylon, Darren, and others. It's going to be fun, man. Shout out to some of the others too, Chris Platty. It's going to be pretty dope. And I'm looking forward to it.
I thought if I remember, because it was 20 years ago, Jerry Foster wrote an article about, well, it really wasn't about me. It was about me and other players because I was like second best punt returner in Michigan. And then the guy that was in front of me was Nick Davis. I don't know if y'all remember him from Manchester. He played for the Vikings. But yeah, man, Jerry Foster's a legend.
Legend, absolute legend. And Monday Train James, May 16th, man. May 16th. Somebody said Brandon Knight or Killian Hayes. I can tell you this: if Killian Hayes was drafted into the previous regime, who knows what type of contract he'd be getting? Who knows what type of treatment he would have gotten?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Brandon Knight here, they would have either known really, really quickly, hey, let's try and get him to the bench, or trade him very, very quickly if it's not working out, or coach him up a little bit. What I've seen this team be able to do with the amount of rookies they've had has actually been kind of amazing comparative to some of the previous regimes. And I know Sean brought that up as well too. We've talked about that, man. What Troy Weaver has done in a short amount of time, we really haven't seen this amount of young talent in. You got to go back to the Bad Boys, and they did that over a span of years. It wasn't like Isaiah and Joe got brought in back-to-back drafts. It was about 4 or 5 years in between when they got brought in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's.
I forgot when Joe was brought, but I know IT was 81 draft. So I don't know when Joe came.
Yeah, who was drafted? It was like Dennis Rodman was drafted there. Joe Dumars was drafted there. Isaiah Thomas was drafted there. But they were drafted all across the spectrum of years, like 3-4 years, I thought, in between some of these draft picks. So what's up, Steve?
It was like 4 or 5 years. 81 was Isaiah Thomas. I believe Joe D's like 84, 85. It's quite a bit of time between Isaiah and Joe D because they had Kelly T in that time. And then once they kind of figured out like Kelly T's kind of got a ceiling, Then that's when they're like, let's bring in Joe D. And then it wasn't until like 87, 88 that they like started to get rolling. And really it was Sally, Rodman, Joe D that made them the title contenders. Because before that it was Zeke, it was Lambeer, they had Horn along the way, but then filling out the rest of it of like, okay, Joe D, here's the perfect complement. And the guy that can smother Jordan. And
see,
then,
you forgetting one, Steve. You forgot
and then
Marcus
they had AD along the way, and then they traded for a gear. So that was the move. I think that more underrated move than I think it gets credit for.
You forgot Mark Aguirre was a great piece to that team.
Yep.
So what I wanted to ask is this, because we know that the restoration is supposed to be built on not even necessarily the going to work Pistons, but the bad boy Pistons. A lot of people don't even have the perspective of how long it really took that team to get rolling. From the draft pick of Isaiah Thomas to when that team really got rolling, how many years would you say that was for their
like 7 or 8?
7 or 8.
Yeah,
And we're in
I was gonna say 8 for sure.
Look at Jalen. 7 years, yeah. And we're in year realistically. You know what, Steve? I'll go by your measurement. I say that the rebuild started when they got Cade Cunningham, but when do you believe this rebuild officially started? Just based on your measurement.
Like right now, to be honest. I did a little research into like teams of like where were you in year 3, teams that started over from scratch. There's an extensive list. I keep saying this when we have time, because this is going to take me reading for probably like 15 minutes. But in recent memory, a couple teams that like the front office has named a couple times, and a couple other ones that I don't think we think about. There's one in particular I think that lines up really well with where Detroit's at. And this team is currently in year 9 of their rebuild, and they're just now in like the last 2 or 3 years become title contenders. So we'll come to that, because all these teams do by the year of end of year 3, like they had like 4 or 5 guys, maybe a little bit more. And really there was only one of them that took a major leap between year 3 and 4. It took a while.
Yeah, a lot of people, think that like that bad boys team was like all of a sudden like really good, but like it took like a better part of a decade to piece that team together, figure out who exactly the guys would be around Bill Lambeer and Isaiah Thomas, to put everything together, because they had the nucleus, they had everything, in place, but like, to find those pieces that make it all work together and make the wheels go around. I mean, it takes time, and like there were even good players that they had to trade away too, right?
Going off, I give Jack McCloskey a lot of credit for building that and like taking chances. We already had Adrian Dantley. He was a huge piece of that team, and then
he was.
I'm pretty sure he traded Dantley. He was part of that Aguirre trade. I'm pretty sure on that. I'm not 100% sure, but to make a move like that, like it's risky, but it was obviously a really high rewards.
So enlighten me, because I know I'm a bad boy fan. But I gotta know that what year did we acquire Buddha Edwards?
Was that 88? No, 87 maybe? Because Buddha only got 1 ring, right?
I think so.
Yeah, Buddha only got 1, and I think it was 80. I don't know which year, but I know Buddha only got 1, because I know him and Rick only got 1 out the bad boy group.
That was 89, because Rick got picked by the Timberwolves.
The Timberwolves was an expansion, the expansion team draft. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other thing too is Daddy Rich didn't get there until year 3. They had I forget the guy's name. The previous coach 2 years, and then Daly got there in year 3, and then it took off.
Yeah, and I wanted to address this comment as well. The going to work Pistons were a different type of rebuild as well, a completely different type of rebuild. They tried to replicate that. Even Joe Dumars tried to replicate that, and he just failed. That's why he was fired. That was almost lightning in a bottle that struck at the right time. Trading a bona fide bucket and stack house for Richard Hamilton was not something that was proven. Signing Chauncey Billups off the scrap heaps was not something that was proven. Think about some of the equivalent moves, like before we knew who Chauncey was going to be and Rip and how this, and then think about some of the other talent that they even tried to draft to bring in. Sometimes it was talent that we thought, this drafted talent or this signed talent is going to be better or this. They realistically thought they could let Ben Wallace walk. That lets you know what they thought of how they brought this draft together, this team together and whatnot. And he couldn't do it. All the other GMs that came after and tried to rebuild in that same pattern couldn't do it.
Careful. He might get off the phone. He's right there.
I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sorry. I got Tay over here too. Like, man, that's my homie, bro.
Hey, Joe is hard at work trying to get another Charlie Villanueva extension going right there.
Oh,
So
my
don't you
God.
dare try to pull him away from the work that man is putting in.
Jesus.
He's trying to call Ben Gordon and figure out how he can get him out of jail so he can start, like in the next couple of years as well. When I saw that Ben Gordon story, I was like, what the heck? That's a can of worms we're not going to open too far. My God. There's
I
no
will
peace
say,
to it.
I will say, like what Kool-Aid was saying, like back in like the early 2000s, I'm a little younger, but I can remember some stuff. We had a solid team. Stackhouse was dropping almost 30 a night one year. I'm pretty sure. Like it was, at will we had Cliff was here. Rest in peace to Cliff Robinson. We had him there hooping. Like we just had a great team, and then I think it was 03 was when I think we lost to the Nets, right? Lost to the Nets. You go out 2004. You bring in everybody. Ben's here. You got the supporting like Mike James, Nimino Coral, all those people. That's rare to have. So you look at it now, like how we're doing our rebuild. It's just a little. It's not as easy as it was back then because it's a different league. But you had the Rasheed trade happen mid-season. Like that's not happening. That was we struck gold with that one. Put it like that.
Luck. That was pure luck.
Because it's no way we got there. So we got that trade, and then over time we got McDyess. After 2004, he was still.
Oh yeah, I forgot about McDyess.
One of the best, mid-range, power forwards of all time. Like of that era, you shoot 15-footer water, and then we got Chris Webber. He wasn't the best, obviously. He was a little into like that point, but he was still contributing. But like I feel. With this team and the way the NBA is, that's not going to work as much because the way players demand trades and the way it's just a whole different ball game. So I feel like now for Troy, it's a little adjustment from how we had when Joe Dumars was here, in the early 2000s.
Now I'm gonna tell you one of my most disappointing teams, man, and I always gonna say this: that Grant Hill, Allen Houston team, I think had potential. But they never had a direction. But that team should have been something, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's always gonna, rest on first that dynamic between Allen Houston and Grant Hill. It just seemed like Allen Houston wanted something more. It
always lets me, because I think of that too, but what always makes me let go of that is Grant Hill turned into Ben Wallace, and Ben Wallace is my favorite Piston of all time. So that's really like
I get that. I'm with you on that. But I mean, that team had a lot of potential, man.
Real quick, I gotta head out. I need a little bit to talk.
Brother.
It was fun. Got some information. It was fun talking to you guys, like always is. I gotta get this presentation going. I'm not looking forward to it, but it's gotta get. So.
Get it going, brother. Hey, appreciate you being here as always.
Cool, and I appreciate you.
Stay on the grind.
Keep sending.
All right, Balone, be easy, bro.
That's
fair. As the resident university instructor here, go do your homework.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So you know how it is. So I appreciate you guys. It's always fun coming in here and doing this. You guys are so knowledgeable. I think the talks are pretty smooth. We're pretty fair to each other. So cool. Keep sending me these links. I appreciate it. I'll join when I can. Thursdays are kind of busy for me because I work pretty late. So it just depends, like I said, what time I have. So I appreciate you guys. All you guys are doing, outstanding work. So
appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, brother.
Keep grinding, man. Keep hitting the books. And stay hungry. Definitely.
For sure. Hey, we'll be in touch. Sean, I'll be hopefully you don't get off Twitter, but if you do, then I understand completely because that stuff pisses me off too. So
I can't get off Twitter. I just can't.
I know.
John, I don't want you off Twitter, man. I like seeing you on Twitter. You make me happy on Twitter, brother.
It's a sickness that I can never get rid of. There's no cure to it. So don't you worry. I'm not getting off of Twitter.
All right, guys. I'm going to head out. I appreciate you guys. I'll be back on hopefully next week, and we'll stay in touch.
All right.
Hey, you got a few people telling you goodbye as well, man. That's what's up.
Peace.
You got the chat saying good luck. They're telling you grind hard, brother.
See y'all next week. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. All right, have a good night, man.
You too, everyone.
Dope. All right. We got to get into these Dwane Casey comments before we close and wrap up, man. I know we talked about Jaden Ivey a little bit already kind of throughout, and I know he'll come up in this as well, so I'm not going to do a separate Jaden Ivey topic. But Dwane Casey, and I'm gonna go to Sean after I kind of introduce it, and then Steve as well. And then we got to get Jalen. I see Jalen down there, and I'm just like, I'm gonna keep the shades on, bro. I see him just. So, look, this thing kind of got crazy with Dwane Casey. Off of a tweet, and I saw that in some of these little forums and such, writers are out there effectively getting skewered to some degrees, and I don't know, man. I don't know. It's weird because the perspectives of the fans versus the perspectives that I know people like Omar Sankofa, James Edwards, and others that are out there on the beat. They're there in a room, and it's interesting to see how the news spreads, but actually having the perspective that I have for at least this particular blessed season. I was in the room for the press conference last night when Casey was talking about job security, or what it seemed as, and it was really nothing to be concerned about. It was like, okay, people are just asking about the game, asking about Ivey, asking about Hampton, asking about this, asking about that. And towards the end of it, somebody just asked, "Oh, Tom Gores is here. Did you guys talk? Did you guys meet? Did you guys do this? Did you guys do that?" Just kind of asking him questions to try and figure things out. And Casey decided to offer up certain comments. Hey, look, I've been committed to this organization. I've been committed to Tom and to Troy to get this thing righted in whatever capacity that they see me in, whether that's coaching or another one. But he said, I have a lot of basketball left in me, but ultimately it's always going to be Troy and coach, Troy Weaver and Tom Gores' decision on what they decide to do effectively. And he said, look, I'll just put it out there. I'm a big boy in the NBA, so I'll just put it out there so you guys can already have it. I'm a big boy in the NBA. I won 59 games, and Toronto let me go. And I handled that okay. Like I'm gonna be okay if they decide to do something. But he said, I'm dedicated to this. Our number one objective was Jaden Ivey this season after Kay Cunningham went down. And the key thing he said, because the question was about has he talked to Gores, he said every time I talk to Gores, he tells me I'm doing what he wants me to do. The objectives that they have, the objectives that they laid out, we talk about them often on the table, talking on some of our own content as well. He's meeting those marks for at least what the organization wants Coach Casey to do. He intimated that he, based on his conversations with Tom Gores, has met that. Does that mean that they can't make a decision? They can make whatever decision they make. I'm just reporting what happened in the room. I'm reporting so you have the context of what was going on. There was no notion of like job security. It was, like I said, a particular media entity from a particular media station that I believe kind of wanted to know. Tom Gores was there in the building, and it took a little time. That I will say, it took a little time, like about 20, 25 minutes longer for Casey to come to this press conference. And so I think that this stuff just kind of spreads like wildfire because fans are ready for him to be fired for something that realistically he might not even be responsible for. But I wanted to be able to go around, start with Sean. If you wanted to expand on the Dwane Casey comments, I know that you said you wanted to bring up some bits and pieces. But if you want to expand on it, I do have some audio. It's not as clear. I'm going to work on getting that cleaned up so you guys can actually hear it, and we can present that later at like another stream. But Sean, man, what you feeling about these Dwane Casey comments, and what are your thoughts on what they should do?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I think first of all, I think we're reading a lot into the questioning that was asked. I think to your point, there was a certain organization there that was pushing a certain agenda that night and was trying to get to a specific thing on whether or not Dwane Casey was, cemented to be back next season. I think it's important to remember the fact that, Coach Casey did bring up the fact that, that Tom Gores was thrilled with the progress that he saw out of Jalen Durden and Jaden Ivey and what he saw from that season. I think, again, we bring up, guys like Steven Silas and, situations like what's going on and transpiring in Houston and, like how, like teams that are in this situation and what it looks like to not have that stability at the head coaching seat. I certainly don't think that Dwane Casey is a man that's, avert of criticism. And I think he's even, admitted and acknowledged that. But at the same time, like I think, whether he's in the coaching seat, whether he's in a, like some form of front office executive role, like it's pretty abundantly clear that Dwane Casey isn't losing a job this summer. Dwane Casey, in fact, is either going to be keeping that exact same job or going to move to some form of different elevated front office role, which is, by the way, exactly what Kool-Aid and I have been alluding to over the last couple of years. Ever since the show started, we have said that if Dwane Casey is not in the head coaching seat, it will not be because he got fired. So I think, I think it's important to recognize the respect and admiration that they have for this guy in the organization. And I think, again, every fan that loves the talent and all the players that we have on this team right now should be thankful for Dwane Casey because he was an instrumental part in this team going into a rebuild in the first place. So, like, again, when I talk about like fans like picking and choosing like what they like and what they don't, I think that's one where we really do a lot of picking and choosing because Dwane Casey came to Detroit to win, came to Detroit, whether that team could do it or not, like that's a whole other conversation, but he came to win now and willingly signed up for a rebuild, willingly knew that he was going to take losses on his personal record. And he did it anyway because it was what's best for the organization. So I think that's just important to just point out no matter what happens this offseason, it's important to recognize where Dwane Casey actually stands with the organization versus what people try to paint on social media.
And I agree with this comment. I don't think that anybody's perfect. I don't. I do believe that if you give him a much better roster than this, then the plays that he has, they would look a lot better. Those players, like you put Cade in last year, there were a lot of plays when I said, "Oh, that was a nice play." Why? Because you have the player that can actually run those plays. You put Jaden Ivey with the ball in his hands. You put them in sets. I like just being real with you. In high school and in college, hey, shout out Columbia Union College. Shout out Columbia Union College, Wahoo.
Yes, sir.
Man, hey, Steve Francis grew up over there. He had us decked out. But I'm telling you guys, they put you in sets, and then they expect you as an individual player to be able to utilize your skill set best in those sets. Jalen, I know you hoop too. And Steve, I know you watch a lot of ball. Sean, you watch a lot of ball. Diamond, I know you've been associated with sports and watch a lot of ball. I don't want to disrespect anybody else's background here as well. But are you in some agreement with that people are basically put into sets and then their individual skill is to take over, or no?
What my
Just
one quick
establish
retort,
a baseline.
my one quick retort before other people speak on this: 30 different starting lineups through 60 games. So when you talk about the availability, the different lineup combinations, the amount of different players that were starting, all young players, mind you, I don't know exactly how you want to be implementing advanced concepts, especially when you're just trying to get this team to gel and score on a night-to-night basis. So,
this one here, the Casey's rotations are horrible. Why did it take them so long to start during? Because they didn't need to. They're not trying to win. I promise you, if this was to win games, then the best players would be absolutely playing. But did you guys at all shudder when Jaden Ivey started limping in the game last night, in the third to last game? I don't necessarily know because I know how I felt when Jalen Duren got that ankle injury about a month or two ago. How did you guys feel? In a season where we're about to win 16 games and try and get a transformative player in this draft, I don't want to see Jalen Duren necessarily go out there busting it for 30 minutes a game for 20, 30 straight games while he's still learning to play, while he's still learning NBA physicality. We love him, but he's still learning this. He didn't take so long to start him. To begin the season, he was learning the game of basketball, and he admitted that. Duren himself admitted that. And when the opportunity presented itself, he earned the opportunity to start, and he took advantage of that. And when they realized what they had, at least from the things that we were hearing, when they realized what they had, and around the time that they made the trade for Wiseman, it was no longer a necessity for them to trade Duren, and it honestly became more of a necessity to start. And it didn't become a necessity to start Duren. It became a necessity to start Wiseman because this is an asset you have on your roster. Are you paying him? Are you trading him? If he's asking for money, is it commensurate? If you're going to trade him, is it for what value? Is someone going to undercut you or whatnot? These are really the things that went into the Duren starting or not starting thing. It wasn't like Casey just thought, oh, he's not this, he's not that. Casey on draft night called him Sean Kemp. I think Casey thinks very highly of Jalen Duren, and it's I don't know, man. Anybody else on the first comments or even on this one?
Playing sports, like you said, like sometimes it's the coach and it's the player, but like if a coach gives you like 5 or 10 plays and you're on the team for a reason, I'm not going to say 50-50, but I say it might be 60-40, 70-30. Like they're going to expect you to perform in that role to an extent off your skill set that you have. And that's in football, basketball, like whatever you play, like it's the same thing. They're going to give you all the plays and whatnot. And it's your job to play make to an extent. It may not work though, in our case, because we have all the lineup switches and whatnot. We never had a consistent, lineup, with this team. But I kind of agree to the point where, like, they put you in those sets and then they kind of expect you to perform. And you as a player, if you're on there, you're there for a reason. Every sport you play, you're there for a reason. So, sometimes you got to adjust and try to adapt. So I kind of agree with that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's not to say, look, my number one criticism of Casey is offensive schemes, offensive sets. They have to be better. They just do. I that's just me personally. But then again, it's just like, how exactly are we judging it? Because like Sean brought up 30 different lineups. When we saw Cade, the offense looked a lot more fluid, and we weren't even with Jeremy Grant, who people were calling a ball stopper. The offense looked a lot more fluid when they had Cade, Bagley, and Jeremy Grant and Sadiq Bey and those guys, Stewart, all going at the same time.
If people want to hear me say something bad about Dwane Casey, by the way, I'll give you my criticism of Dwane Casey. I think my biggest thing with Dwane Casey is ability to specifically make adjustments coming out of the locker room, going out of the second half. I think there have been a lot of times with this team, on a consistent energy basis, just, for whatever reason, in both halves, it's a tale of two teams sometimes. So I think we talk about the consistency and the ability to, for like players to be ready to go in certain situations. Sometimes it's about, like, as a coach, being able, like knowing what specifically to say, how to specifically keep players focused. Like some of that is on coaching. So like, I don't think he's perfect, but like, again, I think like you talk about, like, again, like, as I've said before, I think we put way too much weight on what a coach actually does. So like you talk about like with like sets. I think that's I think that alludes exactly like some of what I'm talking about. It's like we think that it's like an offensive coordinator each and every play in like the NFL, where it's like every play is like drawn up to the T, or is like this this scheme. But the reality of it is, a lot of times they're just trying to get the ball up the court and just trying to find an open shot. Like that's just basketball. Like you have 24 seconds on the shot clock. Like you're not going to be able to go out and put rocket science each and every single play.
Yeah, because my thing is this: how different does a pick and roll look between Cade Cunningham and Marvin Bagley versus Killian Hayes and James Wiseman? They can just a set play. I can give you one basic set play, and I guarantee you, Cade Cunningham and Marvin Bagley are going to make it look like it was some significantly designed play. This was elaborate. But if you go and you do Killian Hayes and James Wiseman might not set the same pick. Killian Hayes might not have the same sauce as Cade Cunningham. It's not the same play, and all of a sudden, people are saying, "Yo, why would Casey run? Why would he design that stale play?" And it's just like, well, what is he supposed to call? Like a triple axle, double back flip pick and roll? Like,
yeah, is this like a Philly special Hail Mary, like Harlem Globetrotters type play, where it looks like they're playing a different sport for a minute? Like I just don't understand.
Yeah, there are ways to scheme putting your players in their best possible situation. And that's what Sean is talking about. But then Sean continues to go back to what the reality is. You got 30 players. I don't know what y'all are good at. All of y'all are young or new. I don't know y'all. We thought Boyan was something, and then
hey, Kool-Aid. I know Steve probably gonna give I'll be wanting to hear Steve because he sound really educated about the sports thing. You got to get it. I'm still educating myself. But let me say this: I don't want to downplay nobody. You know, I've always think that you got to be put in certain positions to win. But I think that Casey, this team too young for Casey, man. Either he shows, either next year he shows we can do it in the first half of the season, or we may have to go younger, more energetic coach. Now I'm just saying things may change around. I'm not saying Casey may not be able to do it, but at this point, I feel like the team that we building needs a younger younger force, power behind them, man. More, more or less so, or know how to. He doesn't know how to run them schemes or put that team together and substitute the way we want because he's just not. I don't think he's gonna be the one for the job. That's just my opinion. You know what I mean? And like I say, I'm not saying he's. I'm not against him. I'm not against our Pistons at all. But I just think even if he going head off, we need a more spunkier, younger, let's go coach with that squad we got, man. That's just my opinion.
I think that's fair.
If I can piggyback off that too, I think like if you look at the other teams that are rebuilding that are having success, Oklahoma City, they got Mark Degino, who's a younger guy, again, kind of unknown, but they knew who he was and they knew all the offensive schemes and things he has. And look at how he has that team already. Who has SGA and then a bunch of other really good role players, but you see how he schemes and is able to win. I think they're at like 34, 35 wins this year. Will Hardy for the Jazz, he's part of the reason why they're not next to us, which I honestly thought the Jazz were going to be the ones that ended up picking Wembanyama, but he's ended up being another kind of forward-thinking, different offensive-minded coach. And then I always forget the guy in Memphis' name. He looks like the comedian Tom Segura to me. So
Taylor Jenkins.
Taylor Jenkins, yeah. He's another one that kind of came out of nowhere, right? But again, they found this like forward-thinking coach that embraces the newer style of game and like gets his assistants around there too. So I think that's part of it as well. And it's not just to say like look at what they're doing, but when it works again and again and again. And maybe this was started with Miami and Eric Spoelstra, right? That hire kind of came under fire or was like, I don't know at the time. But again, Pat Riley and that crew were like, we know this guy. He's been here in our culture. We understand how he can handle personalities. We understand he's a fantastic schemer that thinks differently than everybody. And that's my thing too, is like, even if it isn't Casey, I think all of us can agree the offensive side of the ball is where Casey struggles, and it's not his thing, right? What he's known best for is being the defensive coach that beat LeBron and the Heatles in their very first year together, which I don't think he gets enough credit for. He was the defensive guy on the staff, and he's the one that toppled LeBron probably at the height of his power, right? And just humbled that team that everybody thought was going to run the NBA, but ended up winning 2 NBA titles. In the first one, they got steamrolled by that Dallas defense that Casey was the head of. So that's definitely his strengths on that side of the ball. But my beef with everybody and calling out Coach Casey is part of what Sean said of like, what is it? Like, there are some people that are like, it's all the coach's fault. Like, it's just a terrible coach. And other times it's like, it's these idiot players. It's like, there's never really one time where they look at everybody and say it's everybody's accountability, right? Casey is the chef. Troy Weaver is the owner buying groceries. The players are the food. So if you give a coach or give a chef rotten groceries, expired spices, and say, go cook me a Michelin star meal, they're not going to be able to do it, right? No offense to anybody on this roster, but this is not like top of the level ingredients, right? Like y'all said, this is development. This is basic stuff. What did you really expect him to do when there are supplementary vets, even at the Bojan level, right? This is somebody that was supposed to supplement Kate, not run the entire offense, not be the one that the ball goes through as well. And then Jaden Ivey, a rookie, you can't expect rookies to really, have the onus and put up wins and stuff like that. And he's going to struggle. We had a bunch of different things we wanted him to work on that he's starting to post All-Star break. It takes time. Jalen Duren as well, awareness. You can't expect a rookie center to be good on defense. It never happens, right? Like Walker Kessler's probably the rare example. Even guys like Dwight Howard, takes like 4 years for them to really become an impact defensive player. So that's just my beef is like, what did you really expect? This team is, again, a bunch of supplementary role players, a bunch of young guys that are still trying to figure it out. So come on now. Did you really expect Casey to pull out a play-in spot?
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's one of my things is just the perspectives, and I try to ask people sometimes too, like even if we get a new coach, what is it that you do expect? Not that they don't need one. Like, I agree to, with Diamond Cutter management, man, I agree with what you're saying as it relates to the voice. Sometimes that needs to be a whole new regime. Sometimes you could do that by augmenting your staff. And if you look closely at Dwane Casey's staff, he keeps bringing in new voices. He keeps trying to bring in new people. His staff gets poached, man. The Pistons front office and coaching staffs get poached, which means they're trying to bring things in, but that could also mean that they're running their system more like a program, meaning that the head coach is somebody that would be more like a Dwane Casey, and that their assistants and their film guys and their analysts and their play designers and things of that nature are the people that are going to come up with, hey, these are the best spots to have your guys. Like Casey would come to the floor and say, hey, we know that Sadiq Bey is best in catch and shoot corner 3 situations. We know that Sadiq Bey has shown proficiency in these areas. He would come to the table and say, so we're going to design plays to put him in his best possible spot to succeed. These are things he's saying. So it's like, I know he's coming and doing it, and we see him put Sadiq Bey in the spot to succeed, and we see his scoring kind of go up and this, that, and the other. But as it relates to the total roster construction, it's just not there. So it's like, I don't know, what they choose to do as it relates to, and I've said this before too, either a new voice from the head coach or a new voice that is something matriculated underneath him. I do believe a new voice is needed. I do believe that. I do believe like a new type of a system or something is necessary as this team continues to grow. And that was even the case for the Going to Work Pistons several times over. They went through some coaches, man, and all those coaches are good. There was no disrespect. But as this team grew, then, yeah, it became a necessary standpoint to say, hey, so I could see, I wouldn't be shocked or surprised if they decided in year 5 for the rebuild or even year 4, which would be this coming season, if they did something. But in year 4, I personally don't see a need to do that. That's just me personally. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Jaden, what you feeling on this, man?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh boy. I'm gonna be honest. Casey's I do feel like he's an older coach, like, old fashioned coach, I would say. You have a young team here, but I can't ignore like the injuries, man. Like, it's just a lot has happened this year, and I think this year was kind of like his, okay, let me try to make this work year. And, we didn't make it out the first month or first, 2 months of the season. So I wouldn't mind Casey, not being here, but I don't. Oh man, I'm gonna regret this. I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up on him. I don't want to give up on him just yet. Like Sean said, I would love for him to go to the front office. He's a great basketball, mind. We've seen him win. We've seen him win. We've seen him have great players. But I just want to see how he could do if the team is healthy. His coaching style is not, fast paced, like the guy in Memphis, Taylor Jenkins, or the guy in OKC. Like, their teams are built different as well too. So that's another reason why they're doing much better. But oh man, I can't believe I just said that. I want to see Casey stick around for a minute with a healthy roster, just to see.
If I may,
Yeah.
Because here's the thing: a lot of people, just point and go directly to Casey and go, "See, he's the problem." And then they go, "See, the year Toronto was brought out, like the year Dwane Casey was brought out of Toronto, what did they do? They won a championship." But all those things just conveniently avoid context. What did Dwane Casey do the 1 year he had a healthy Blake Griffin? He got us to the playoffs.
I could have swore we were playing in the first round against the Bucks. I'm pretty sure, last night I remember.
His very first year. And then in addition, going on top of that, the very next year they bring in more talent. They're trying to build upon that roster. What happens? Blake blew out his knee trying to go and make that playoff push. Derrick Rose, as good as he was just a solid backup point guard at best. But at the end of the day, we all knew that team wasn't going anywhere. And Dwane Casey was part of that line that said, hey, we need to bring in youth. And so, of course, the thing with Toronto, again, the reason why they won a championship after he left was because they went and got a guy named Kool-Aid? Who was the player they acquired in trade?
See.
Who is that guy again? Can you remind me? Kawhi Leonard, I think was the name. And then who was the guy again that left that conference in that summer as well? I think his name was LeBron James. You know, here's what I'm saying. Look me straight in the face and tell me that if Dwane Casey was in Nick Nurse's seat, that he wouldn't have a ring. Just straight up. Same circumstances play out as they do. Dwane Casey's winning that championship. He's a championship winning head coach. So the reality of it is, if we're going to make any judgments about who Dwane Casey is as a head coach in this modern NBA, to Jalen's point, don't you want to do it when the cards are actually in his hand and not when he's playing with a pair of twos at the World Series of Poker?
That's what I was hinting at.
And then it's like, Kawhi Leonard joins the Raptors. They were gonna win something. The momentum they had that year was impeccable. Dunking on Giannis, like it was just a perfect storyline, and I've had my crazy Casey tweets, and we all have stuff like that, but I just don't want to give up on him, and that's just anybody in life, injuries. If the team is injured, what do you expect to happen? It's just LeBron going against the Cavs, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love get hurt in the series. It's just give them a fair shot, and then if it doesn't work, I get it. But if we have a good off season, get everybody back, K comes back healthy, let him try it out because he hasn't had a full team in a while because K was hurt a lot of his rookie season. So I'm gonna regret this, but I'm with DC, man. I'm with Casey.
I don't like to do this normally. I really don't. Really, Diamond, really quickly. I'm sorry. I just saw a specific comment. I don't like to do this normally, but hey, Jorge, dumbass, what did I get wrong? Sean does not know what he's talking about. Sheesh. Name one thing I said.
Summertime Sean. Summertime Sean is back.
Man, all these people are coming out like he doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't. Listen, brother, I do research. This is literally all I do in my free time. Sean. You want to tell me what the was not true out of everything that I just said? Look me in the goddamn eyes and tell me that Dwane Casey wouldn't have a ring if he had Kawhi freaking Leonard, no LeBron James in his conference, Kevin Durant tearing his Achilles in the middle of a final. You tell me that doesn't happen.
They didn't fire Sean up.
Hey, y'all remember last summer, right? Before the season got in the way of things.
Moron.
Y'all remember last summer, right?
Moron.
Where's We the Borf at, man? That's legendary. I gotta clip that. We're clipping that and putting that
We
up.
the Borf.
Because summertime Sean is something different, bro. This is Sean Murphy.
Get him, Sean.
Bro, we're gonna have some 12 rounds, man, on this channel.
Hey, let me say this before y'all go to another topic. He's an older coach. If he was put in a position, he had the team that were more older, more maybe skilled, more fundamental, I should say. Detroit has some raw talent, man. We got Durant, we got K, we got Hayes, we got, Jaden, Ivey. We got some beasts, man, and they need a younger, fiery coach. I'm telling you.
Yo, to that point though, hear me out. Dwane Casey was in Toronto. Who was in Toronto during that run right now? You had DeRozan coming up. You had Van Fleet. Van Fleet wasn't supposed to be this good. He wasn't,
He was undrafted.
Yeah, he's my grandma's height. He shouldn't have been that good, but look at him,
Kyle Lowry. He wasn't exactly the greatest player before Dwane Casey had him. Right?
Yeah. Kyle had a good career, got him a ring. And then too, what's the one guy that's there that was super young that is pushing all NBA teams that was in the Pascal Siakam? So Casey can do it. Casey had a young team and a couple of vets on there. Casey can do it. It's just that team was always healthy. And then two, a guy from Akron was playing in the East all the time, so you couldn't beat him. You couldn't beat Bron. So I'm really taking up for Casey, but
this comment right here though. But here's the thing though, Jalen. I know you're saying I know I regret it, and people are like, stop with the Casey defense. This isn't defense. These are just facts. The reality of it is you can't have a nuanced conversation about the quality of a coach if you can't acknowledge the good with the bad. If you're just saying that this man's straight up incompetent and doesn't know basketball, he's one of 30 men in the world that's coaching an NBA team. If you genuinely think this man doesn't know what he's doing, you're a dumbass, and I will repeat that.
College Hall of Fame, or
Hey, Jalen, I wouldn't compare that Toronto team to what we got now, though, man. Who you named, I'm just saying what they will be what Durham will be in the off season when he comes back will probably shock us all if he has a great off season and good training.
But it is a resume, though, Diamond, of the amount of players that he's been able to work with and how they blossomed under him.
And you got Kyle Lowry, Kyle Lowry wasn't that good, you know, before he got there. Like he was decent, but like he got him some all-stars and whatnot. You get Fair Van Fleet, Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham's upside is way more already now than Fred's was, you know what I mean? Siakam's upside was never that good. Dorn's upside to me is better than what Siakam's was when he first got to the league, to me. And
well, can you agree that Toronto gelled a little better than what we have? Because that Toronto team actually played like a team.
You're right, but
they bought in on the defense from number one. From the day one, they bought in on defense.
They had a lot of vets too. They had a lot of vets too. You know, they had DeRozan. My fault, Sean. Go ahead, buddy.
I was just going to say really quickly, it's because they had the time to gel. Because Dwane Casey started in Toronto in 2010, 2011. They didn't start getting towards the top of the conference until 2014, 2015. The reality of it is they acquired guys.
5-year rebuild?
Yeah. And so Kyle Lowry didn't become an all-star until he was 28. He was drafted in people forget he was drafted in 2006. It wasn't until he was 28 and in the literally over halfway into his career playing with a guy like Dwane Casey that he became an all-star player.
Yes,
not only an all-star player, literally this guy didn't average over 14 points a game until he got to Toronto.
Yeah. I remember that.
Like this guy was like just a guy.
He sucked in Houston. I mean, straight up, he sucked.
Oh, he was bad, dude. Houston, Memphis. It was just it wasn't good. And they had vets too. They had vets in Toronto. They had Ibaka got over there and he was still decent. Gasol, Danny Green. We don't have that over here. Like our vet is Corey Joseph.
Exactly. And that's what I was gonna say, bro.
That matters, man. That matters.
I ain't even laugh like that, but dang, that is kind of bad.
That matters.
That's what I was gonna go is that somebody earlier said blame Troy Weaver for all of these injury-prone players, and it's just like that's kind of because he's not going to be counting on injury-prone players as a part of the actual when they get a team. The team is not in place. They're rebuilding up to a team. Do we understand how bad the cap sheet was before Troy Weaver? Do we understand how bad the contracts were before Troy Weaver? Do we understand how bad the hope in the future was before Troy Weaver? Like, do we understand how when you're coming from negative, bro? If we're down 10, I can hit 2 grand slams, bro, and I'm still not caught up. You understand what I'm saying? It's the move that he's making, bro. And Sean we have lost Sean. We have lost Sean.
You don't want me to take you to school, Sean. Be careful. I'm just saying, if you speak in facts, then why you not 100% sure of what you talking about? If you actually were going to take me to school, you'd start actually talking by now, you idiot. Get out of the chat. My God. I'm sorry. That was just the funniest comment I've ever read.
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord. These people actually think they know what they're talking about. It's
look at this. And this is my thing with RB the Baller. I'm just like, what is Casey paying y'all? I don't know because it's not enough for me to call him a perfect coach, I guess. Like, he's not a bad coach. That's the thing.
Can I say something?
No, go ahead, Steve, because he's not a bad coach. I want to say that too. I've been
to peers who gives him the stamp of approval. He's had the closest relationship with Kevin Garnett, KG. Like, just go look up anything KG has ever said about Dwane Casey. He was there for like a year and a half only because Glenn Taylor's an idiot who fired Coach Casey when this was somebody that KG really bonded with and they started to really gel and become somewhere. And then after that, the Wolves fell off. LeBron has always praised Casey no matter what. He has no horse in the race, right? But this is somebody he's always gone out of his way to say, I respect him. He's one of the best out there.
Oh my God.
Went out of his way to call Cade to be like, hey, this is what you're getting in Casey. Like, to me, that level of respect from the top people in the league ever, like, that just speaks volume. Like, those are facts. Go look those up.
All I'm saying, Steve, is sometimes the piece don't fit. Sometimes the piece just don't fit, man. I just see right now with the
yeah, I
agree. Don't know though. Like, my thing is, you're right. Sometimes it don't fit, But if the general manager of the team is saying, I've given this man trash, and all I'm asking him to do right now is find diamonds, that's it. Then how can we say anything? Like, as a man, we don't want to be judged, or as a woman, or as anything. We want to be judged based off of knowing we have the full fledged of everything. Look, these are all the tools. Now we're going to judge you. Not we're going to take away some of the tools, and then we're going to sit back and try and judge you. Troy Weaver came out and preempted this and stated, I have not given this man a passable roster when he had a marginal passable roster. What did he do? He made the playoffs with a roster that was what most people crapped on. And so that's what I'm saying. It's like we gotta wait until we see who he like. I don't know who he is with the young team, but guys who went from kind of okay to all-stars and grew up with Dwane Casey, they're the ones like Kyle Lowry. He's saying out of his own mouth. We don't have to say like, look at his stats or look at his growth. He says that. Coach Spo, he's saying it. Like, why is Coach Spo of the Miami Heat? Why does he have to come out and say Dwane Casey does a great job at developing young players? That's what I'm saying. So it's just like I don't really know. Like, hey, these are the literal professionals of the professionals. My job is to report. These guys who are his colleagues and his peers who don't have to give him a pat on the back for anything. All of these other players. Kay Cunningham, one of the first interviews he did, he said, I talked to so many people around the league, and they said, you're going to one of the best situations you could go to because of Coach Casey. He said, I talked to superstars, I talked to other organizations, and those are the things I'm talking about. Now, if he's the guy to help this team win when they're ready, he might not be their Larry Brown. But Larry Brown is a legend. He's an OG, for without a shadow of a doubt. This is the guy that is going to be for this phase. So I wouldn't be shocked if Casey is for this phase because the key is what was it? What he said he was? Develop these young guys. Develop these young guys.
Hey, Kool-Aid.
K, Isaiah Livers, Stewart. Give me enough of those guys because I think Troy Weaver knows this. How many times have we seen Piston teams go out there, lace the money, and we have a middling playoff team? They can do that every year. I would love for them to be able to go and lace a team where the foundation is Cade, Ivey, Duran, and those guys, rather than when they went and said, do we even remember what they added Charlie V and Ben Gordon to? That's what I'm saying. So instead of going out there and just splashing the money, if they added BG and Charlie V to this young squad, they would be better than the old team that they added them to. It would be less of a risk.
Yeah, it's the fact that they were brought in to be the star players.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, this is a completely different rebuild. And Casey's here to do a specific job whose contract runs out when? After next season.
21 straight, Kool-Aid. Out of 22. Now listen to me.
But they're not supposed to be winning. That's what
I get it.
The goal was to win, and I would let that
I get it though. But we couldn't get a win when we was at like 8, 7, 10. All I'm saying is 21. I'm not saying this is fault. We all talking. We just speaking. We just having a. But 21 out of 22 straight games, man. I'm telling you, if he start off the season, I'm speaking hypothetically, and we lose 8 to 10 straight, he got to go.
But what is the roster? So you telling me if they run this roster back next year, some unfortunate things happen again, and the whole team, players, and the general manager are saying, well, look at what we got. Like, we started the season talking about, like, I see Corey Joseph here. We're playing Corey Joseph at backup 3, minutes. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's.
Can I respond to the 21 or 22 games argument?
Oh, yeah.
Can you share what I just shared? Can you put what I want to share on the screen? That is my argument.
Yeah, Troy Weaver said that they position themselves for this.
So to respond, the reason why I'm not saying that they're intentionally losing games. However, man, Bojan's injury and Alec Burks' injuries all sure to flare up at the same time.
Isaiah Stewart too.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, and like Hamidou Diallo, like man, like that sprained ankle. Like I'm sure he could have done some more work if he needed to come back.
So Sean, think about this: if you Wemby or you just be Sean, I come to you. I'm the GM. I say, hey, Sean, we lost 30 straight, but I want you to be the man. You just now coming in. How much pressure is that on him? I'm just saying we did it to a
listen,
lot of Detroit players.
Diamond. He's the number one overall pick of a generational draft. He's getting paid tens of millions of dollars. No matter what, the pressure's gonna be there. The reality of the situation is if you're in a situation like the Pistons and Cade Cunningham's out, Jaden Ivey's out there, a lot of your veterans are dealing with injury issues. What incentive do you have to win if you can position yourselves to go guarantee? Because mind you, Diamond, they clinched the worst record in the league, which everyone is like, man, that sucks. But you know what that does do for the Pistons?
When did they do it, Sean?
They did it. They did it the other night.
Which means if they were not, if they had to put how many of their actual starters on the bench to barely.
And here's the importance.
The first time before we were year here.
And here's the importance. Because they have the worst record, they cannot fall below 5. So the Pistons are drafting in the top 5 no matter what. I get that this is sucked, but we are guaranteed a 4 out of 5 chance at Vic, Scoot, or the Thompson twins.
So what do we? What do we?
100% chance, a 100% chance at the Thompson twins, Brandon Miller, Scoot, or Wemby. That is another franchise caliber player. This is the long game, Diamond.
So what do we? What did we draft last year?
Another caliber player.
What number was that though?
The completely different draft this year.
All I'm saying is, how we gonna keep getting these top 5s and not doing anything? What's the difference between Wemby?
Diamond, the average age, the average age of a Finals MVP is 28 years old. The average age of an NBA All-Star is 26 to 28 years old. These are guys that Jaden Ivey just got his driver's license not even 5 years ago. As much as we all love everything that he's doing on this NBA level, he is a kid.
Yeah, you're right.
We love Jalen Duren. Dude, how old is Jay?
My son?
Yeah.
Jay 23.
He is 4 years older than Jalen Duren.
Jalen's a beast, bro. Hey, I'm just saying.
Jalen's a beast, but he is a kid. To the extreme. He's 2 years away from drinking.
Yeah.
What about Wemby? How old is Wemby?
19, 20 years old.
Wemby's like 19 or 20.
And if Wemby comes in, that's another good point. That doesn't guarantee playoffs. That could be a play-in that doesn't guarantee playoffs. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
They as good as dominant as Wemby is gonna be, he is a kid. So
they need a different coach, Sean. That's too much young, raw talent, bro. It's too much young. Listen to me. Too much young, raw talent for that man to coach, man. I'm trying to tell you.
So you're saying that when you want you're saying when you send your kid to school and you're putting him in the classroom with a ton of young kids, you're saying that you want that teacher to be as young as possible, as inexperienced as possible, as new to the job.
I want him to be young enough to relate to my kid.
But in the NBA, though, relation is actually about experience. You have to teach men. The number one component and thing that people had against Andre Drummond, and wow, maybe he should have had Coach Casey as a coach. The number one thing they had against some of those guys is that they were not coached up well. There was not a really good like a focus on who they were personally, a focus on family. The one thing I heard from the organization, I guess I could say from a source, I'm not going to reveal them, is that Troy Weaver legitimately looks at these people as family. He's looking at character, and he tells them all, I don't care who you are. Everybody's on the same level. Everybody will get equal opportunity. That's why James Wiseman got here and instantly got an opportunity because he hadn't had one prior. They said, you will get the opportunity to prove what you are, to put some on tape so we can actually have a proper, relation. Right. And those things matter. I want to address this because number one, odds always fall, unfortunately. You guys, do you know how much more bleak it is if the Pistons did not secure the odds that they did secure?
Like it gets different, and you have
San
to go out there.
Antonio and Houston can fall as low as 6 or 7.
Exactly. And how did we feel when we went from number 5 to number 7 in Troy Weaver's first year here? That was a huge drop when you look at it in hindsight. That's a big drop. Right now, the Pistons are secured. And I'm going to ask Steve this. When you get into pick 6 and 7, Steve, is there a big difference between 6 and 7 and just say 2, 3, and 4?
I mean, it depends on the draft class, but in this draft class, it's like number 1 and then everybody else. Also, I wouldn't get into the draft odds because you are going to open another can of worms that, frankly, I don't think you want to hear about, because there is the increased odds for the top 3 picks. Then because of the way they balance it out, there is a certain pick number that a team can fall to that has higher odds. And the 2 and 3, the lowest they can fall to, have lower odds than the number 1 pick. They're the furthest they can fall to. So there's checks and balances in there. In this class, though, if they fell below 6, it would be a major loss. That would be all the losing would be for nothing, because then
catastrophic.
And that's what I'm saying.
Catastrophic.
To secure the worst record in the league for losing this season to make sense. They can't state that, but Troy said in his own words, we positioned ourselves for a high draft pick. They had to in a trans, they now know without a shadow of a doubt what their draft board is going to look like. They now know without a shadow of a doubt the types of players that they can now, hey, look, this guy. They had to do it. Can you guys imagine if we did all this losing with Casey, with this roster, and then we got the 7th pick?
It would be so disappointing. I mean, like an F on a test, failed mission. It would probably it'll set me back 15 years as a fan.
Let me say this, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not taking nothing from our coach.
I like the conversation.
We had a Steve Kerr or a Monty Ellis.
Okay, but Steve Kerr is one of the 15 greatest coaches in the history of basketball.
Hey, listen, we ain't gonna go with the stats. I'm giving you some hypothetical thinking. We'll give you some hypothetical thinking.
Hypothetical of what if we had a top 10 coach of all time? I would love that.
That team wouldn't have to lose. They'll be better. Is what I'm saying is
if
Casey could have been good in
coach of all time. Yes, they would be better.
Casey could have been better. Casey could have been good in Toronto, right? He could have been good with LeBron and all these other players y'all talking about. But this team is showing, man, that it's not him, or it could just be listen, as a football player, let me ask you this too. All the athletes on here, especially you, Kool-Aid, because you've been a basketball player. Jalen, you've been a basketball player. And I'm a football player. I'm going from the sports aspect. I love a coach to get in my ass. Hey, let's go, baby. Get over there. You know what I mean? And a lot of players play better like that. They need the Jaden Ivies. That team needs a force of let's get it together, snap the hand, let's go. More enforcement. He's more of a laid back coach. He coaches an older team, Boston, something like that. He's a great coach, man. What I'm saying is the piece ain't there. We got some fiery, young. Let me just say this. I got kids. My kids don't even they're young. They like listen to me sometimes. They tend to tune in to people that's more like them. These are young, rich athletes.
But which ones aren't tuned in? Ivey, Dwane, K, even Killian improved over what we saw rookie season. All the young guys, even Isaiah Livers, he was a second round pick. Isaiah Stewart was a low first round pick.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. When we look at the report, we sitting here saying we got a nice young nucleus. We're sitting here excited about the nucleus. The thing is this: if this was the squad, I feel like this. I'll put it this way: I think you're from the future. You're Diamond Cutter from 2 or 3 years from now, and the team is together and they have underperformed. But right now, it's a half-baked pie. It's just the crust in there, it's a chicken pot pie, and realistically, it's got some peas and some carrots in there. We're like, yo, this is terrible. Yo, bro, what is this? And he's like, no, I'm getting the chicken ready right now. I'm getting the celery ready. I'm getting the broth ready. I'm getting this stuff ready. I'm getting it ready. Wait until we bake it, and then let's see. I'm not saying that Casey is the guy for when the team is together. I don't know. I even put in print. I've written this. I don't like. He's never been in a situation like this before. I don't even know if they thought, oh, he's the guy that had to successfully coach us through a restoration or a rebuild. But they identified that he was a guy that was great with developing young talent. So if they were going to say internally, what if the organization said, for 2 to 3 years, we want nothing but tanks? And after that Killian Hayes draft, bro, I'm not trying to drop no more, because what's the point of losing? Our fans are going to look and say, well, that's what y'all were doing during the Andre Drummond years, when y'all kept picking 6, 7, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, 9. And where are those players? What did we get for those players? Nothing. There was no foundation. The restoration was about saying, when you look at the bad boys, he said it, we restored on the bad boys. They specifically said that. Kay Cunningham specifically said that. Kay Cunningham got number 2 and talked to Cindy Daly, the daughter of Chuck Daly, about this. This was about that team. And as Steve pointed out in the beginning, that squad took how many years? 6, 7 years, 8 years from the time that they drafted Isaiah Thomas to the time that they actually started getting going. But what did they do? They got their Isaiah Thomas, they got their Joe Dumars. 4 or 5 years later, they got Dennis Rodman, they had Kelly T. It took some time. And I'm not saying Casey is the Chuck Daly. I'm not stating that. I'm saying he's the guy for at least right now that they can say, while we're losing, you know what I mean? While we're kind of going through the stretch that we are purposely trying to get the top picks, we see that Casey is having success with guys like Cade. Because you know what we know? Sean and I covered this, man. Sean, what were the people saying as soon as the Pistons got the number 1 pick with Cade? All of his warts came out. The Pistons get Cade Cunningham. He's too slow. He can't this. He can't dribble. He can't get around nobody. Now all of a sudden, he's looking like this phenomenal generational potential player. And Casey has nothing to do with that. Though Cade comes out of his own mouth and says, bro, he's had a lot to do with my development.
So we healthy next year, Sean. This for you too. We healthy next year. Nobody hurt. God forbid, we could go through a healthy season. If we lose 10 straight, Sean, you still stick with that coach? That's a yes or that's a yeah or nay?
First of all, if you're making a coaching change first 10 games into the season, you should probably be fired yourself. But anyway, the reality of it is, like I said earlier, if this team doesn't perform with all the players available, with the chips on the table, absolutely. But that's not the argument we're having. What we're saying is the chips aren't on the table. So therefore, to blame him and put this on him and to say that the coach is the problem is illogical. And what I'll say to like the tanking thing before, like to put in perspective, Greg Popovich, one of the greatest coaches in the history of the league, is one of the most vocal public detesters of tanking. This man has literally said, I will never tank. I detest tanking. I hate tanking. Do you notice that the San Antonio Spurs are conspicuously one of the 3 teams with one of the worst records in the league? Do you think there might be anything to do with the fact that this draft class is so good that even Coach Pop said we need to tank to make sure we can be in this draft? Like, to just give a perspective of how good this draft class is, the GOAT of coaching is willing to lose 60-plus games so that he can have the odds himself.
Yeah. And I can break bread with this one. That's why I said with Diamond Cutter, it may. Oh, wait. No, that's not the comment. Where is it at? Here it is. RB the Baller. This one here. We're not putting nothing on him. We're saying his vision is outdated. It's not his vision. They're still putting together a team, though. And that's what I'm saying. We don't know what his vision is now. But I do agree with this. His schemes and what we've seen from the past, we don't know. I believe personally that they may need another coach with a fresher set of ideas. And that's what I'm saying, but that's not right now or next year. Next year's team is not a team that they're saying is supposed to be a playoff team. They thought this year's team was going to be one that was going to learn to compete. And Troy said, we're going to have to reset that. And next year, we're going to have to come in and hopefully be that team that can have playing as a goal in front of us. Not that they're going to make it, but have that as a goal in front of them. So the expectations based on what they're stating, they're not stating that next year that they're going to be this team that's going out there and knocking on the door of like the 5th or the 4th seed of the Eastern Conference playoffs, because the East got significantly tough. Just look at the Central Division alone and all of the squads that are employing multiple bigs in the lineup, beating us up nightly from Cleveland, Milwaukee, Bulls, Indiana. all these squads running out 2 bigs when they play the Pistons. Even if they don't start them, look at how the rotations go. They bring in another big, and we say, well, Casey needs to adjust. With what? And that's what I'm stating. I don't know with what yet. So to be fair to the man, I do believe that there's more that needs to be given to him before we can make a proper assessment. But that's not me stating that for the next phase, I believe he's our Larry Brown. That may need a new voice. And that's not something I argue with. It's just adding to what they're specifically doing right now versus, and how we're going to apply that blame. Like, I'm telling you, bro, if this squad is playoff ready next year, and in next year, there's a lot, at least for me, that changes. Like, my assessment, how I'm looking at things this year was, like Rob Beard and I talked about it, it was just this is an appetizer platter this year. This is not the main course. Next year, though, I'm hoping to get my main course. I'm not, it's not gonna be the dessert. It's not the end of the night even. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're out on a lovely date, sometimes after the dessert, that's when the real shebang goes. Bro, we're just getting to the first course. You know what I mean? We're just getting there. And it's like the restaurant first course.
Hey, Sean, I'm sorry, man. I'm really hoping that we can pull it together next year. I'm not trying to. I say something about Casey, you keep hiding your face. I'm sorry, man.
No, you're okay, man. No, all good, man.
I think no. Listen, I think I don't mean to cut you off, Sean. I just wanted to preface this. Diamond, I think that you are representing right now a voice of a lot of fans out there who have connected this losing to the losing of 10 years ago. And sometimes it's hard to break, even though we're like, we've seen them try to rebuild, and this rebuild is not working either. So I do believe that this type of conversation is good because you represent a demographic of a lot of voices that I believe Sean's heard from, that I believe Steve has heard from, and that myself has heard from, and other beat writers and content creators. We're hearing the same. And at least from our perspective, when we're hearing the team and when we're looking at what they're doing and what they're telling us this. Like, I'm not theorizing right now. Like, I'm not coming up with like, well, I think this, I think that. They're telling us we wanted to tank. We did this on purpose. So how do we judge it? So the only way that I can specifically judge Casey is this. Okay, 1 year they told him to win. That boy made the playoffs with a squad that shouldn't have. That's it. Then everything else after that is make sure that these high-level draft picks are who we thought they were. And that's what he's done. Before that,
as a player though, Kool-Aid, I don't want my coach coming. I'm gonna cut you off. I want my coach coming to me and telling me we got to lose every game because we don't have the pieces.
I got that. I
don't think that's.
He's not saying that to him though. Oh, go, Jaden.
You're not.
I don't think, like, to your point though, like back to like the Steve Kerr diamond. Like, if you look at the situation that Steve Kerr was given, like it was like a 5-star meal. You know what I mean? Like that team was already set. And if like the same thing with the injuries with Casey, when KD and Clay went down in the finals, they should have still won. You know what I mean? But like, injuries happen. But then, like you got the old school and the new school coach. I play football too, so I understand like you got the crazy, mean defensive coordinator and a nice head coach. It's a good balance. Sometimes they can do too much, but sometimes they can't, So I feel like Casey being here, if you watch him, he gets in him a little bit sometimes now. Casey will snap a little bit now, but it's just having a healthy team, and I hate to keep using that, but just having a healthy team, and in any sport you play, like we all play sports, like we can have the best team in the conference or the OAA. That's where I played at. Let somebody go down. It's so hard to play, man. Like, and with Cade being our franchise player, like it's just hard for him to do it. So like, and I love this talk because I love having it, everybody. But it's just like seeing Casey. I just want to see us have a healthy team because you can say the same for any other coach in the league, man. Let SGA and OKC go down with injury, man. That whole team is ruined. Like it's just
that's their identity.
You know all I'm saying is from a coach's perspective, and I'm gonna use some players as an analogy. That off the pick with Curry is a little different than off the pick with Draymond, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like again, I'm back to the fit, man. It's gotta fit. And right now it just seemed like, okay, they building. I know that Troy is building with him and they're going about it, the way they want to. But
Mhm.
I just don't think he's going to catch the feel of that team, man. You know what I mean? Like I said, he's an old-fashioned type of coach.
I mean,
think
he
These
might
are
not, but
18,
when
these
the
are
team is
18 and
ready to win, it
19-year-old
might not
kids.
matter.
he
Go
What you
ahead.
said, Jalen?
he might catch it, and it's it's here to say it's 50-50. Like the Curry and Draymond thing, it's not hard to coach them boys, man. Like it's not hard to coach the Warriors, man, because they already have that built-in chemistry. If you have a 75 to 80% basketball mindset, you can coach them. I think that's just my personal opinion because they have so much chemistry and they know how to play. But over here, it's a lot of young guys. You got Ivy, they're younger than me. I'm 24. You got Ivy that's younger than me, Killian. A lot of them dudes, Wiseman, all of them are young. I feel like you just gotta give him a chance. I don't feel that he may not be the fit. You never know. It's a lot of other good coaches out there. I don't mind it, but I can't say that he doesn't fit because every report you hear from each young player, and they could be lying to make it sound good, but I don't think Kay Cunningham will lie and say the stuff he said about Casey or Ivy. I don't think they're lying about that. Something's right up in there.
Yeah.
It's just that if the team isn't healthy, it's hard to win games. I don't think no coach is saying let's go tank because that's illegal. I'm pretty sure, but I feel like
I don't think that's a good look, Jay. That's
Yeah.
not a good look being an athlete, man. With a coach telling you that, we want the number one player. We want to be in
There's
the
no
top
coach.
five.
No.
He's not
no,
saying that.
He's not
That's not
saying
how
that.
that works.
No, I'm not
Dwayne
saying
Casey's given a
I know.
roster that's going
Go
to
ahead.
automatically be in tank mode. That's just the thing. He's given that. They're saying, "Hey, bro, this is your roster." And then what is the general manager coming out saying? Yeah, we want him to do his best every night, but I did not give him anything that will suggest this team should be winning or looking like a team of the semblance of winning, especially if you lose your connection. He said if Kay Cunningham was there, that is a different thing. I do believe that they believe Kay Cunningham is something that I believe even Pistons fans underestimate when they talk about this season and how it looks. I've continued to bang that drum, and I'm going to continue to do it. I believe that Kay Cunningham is a star, an absolute star. I do. And
How much is Dwayne Casey
A
making?
lot.
How much is Dwayne Casey making?
His last season is coming up. I don't know the terms of his deal. I don't, but it's not. Those things don't necessarily hurt the team at all. They don't factor into, what the team does.
He
But
makes a
what I want
standard
to talk
NBA
about,
coaching salary. He's not one of the higher paid coaches in the league. He's paid a standard coaching salary, especially for the experience and the things that he brings with. But
yeah, and I wanted to talk about this on the stream because it's we sucked even when we were healthy. I don't get y'all guys. I don't know what to tell you. With what I believe to be a less talented team last season, post All-Star break, if you do not believe that the
Yeah, they
record
were.
was Cade Cunningham,
Diamond,
at
can you mute your
10
mic
and
between
14
talking? It's just there's an echo going back. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. What I was saying is, oh yeah, there's echo. Oh yeah. No, what I was saying is, if you guys don't believe, man, there's a serious echo going on. But yeah, no, if you guys don't believe that the 10 and 14 record that they had post All-Star break last year with Cade Cunningham means anything, then I don't know what to tell you. That was a stretch where when you look at what Coach Casey was doing as a coach, and when you look at the sets that the team was playing, they were playing to win. And you know what we're missing this year that we weren't missing last year? One of the best clutch players in the league and one of the most double team, not just rookies, but players in the league. That was Cade Cunningham. He was going down at the end of games, and some of those games that we were winning last year that gave people hope was because he was going out there and going toe-to-toe with stars. Even the games that he would lose, like against Brooklyn, he was going back and forth with KD. And what did he have after the game? KD came out and said, that boy is something different. He's special. He's a star. That's what these guys are saying. DeMar DeRozan, Sean, remember when we debuted that clip here on the Table Talking, he was like, he looked checked out. And the media was talking to him about stuff, and they were like, "What about Cade Cunningham?" And he just looked up like, "Huh? What?
I love
What'd you
Cade
say,
Cunningham.
I love him. I love him. I love him." That's
Chris Paul, man, this Cade Cunningham, man, he's the truth.
Yep. And so it's like, I don't know what people are necessarily looking at when I dig into the numbers, when I look at it, because we were invested. We were looking at every single game and breaking down every single game. It was like, yeah,
10-14. I look, it's not what you necessarily want to say and sit here and raise the pom-poms, but this team was winning about 20% of their games up until that right before the post All-Star break until the end of the season with Cade Cunningham. That jumped to almost like 45-46% winning percent when they got healthy. They got bags in the trade. Jeremy Grant got healthy, and Cade Cunningham started going ham. That matters. So it's like we talked about this all summer last year coming into this season that we were wondering if they could build on that. Cade Cunningham came out here and was putting up 26-6 and then got hurt. They were not healthy to start this season either. Bagley was hurt. Duran was a question mark. Jaden Ivey, he was not the player that he is today. He just not the player that he is today. So, hey, you know what?
And I think this is a good conversation. Pepega Jones, thank you so much for the $50 super chat for all the love towards the channel, man. I think this has been a really good conversation, but we are approaching 2.5 hours going live. It is 11:30 Eastern Standard Time currently. So I do think it would be best if we started to move towards wrapping up the show.
What do you mean? It's only 8:30 in Tucson. Y'all are lightweights.
Well, some of us have to work 17 hours tomorrow, Steve. Anyway, we want to thank y'all so much for tuning in to Woodward Pistons Table Talk. We appreciate each and every one of you being here. Jalen, Diamond, Steve, Kool-Aid, myself, the crew want to thank you. Be sure you follow each and every one of us here on social media and all the work that we are doing on Woodward Pistons, but also just what we're doing as well. Go check out Steve's first episode of the Woodward Pistons Draft Show, where he recorded with the great Bryce Simon, aka Motor City Hoops, and listen to the conversation about Scoot Henderson and the other prospects as well, because Steve is one of the best minds in the draft. I am telling you that right now. But also Kool-Aid is killing the game as well. Be sure you're following him as well for all the work that he's doing. And Kool-Aid, I'll let you start wrapping it up too.
No, yeah, look, I'm grateful for everybody being here, grateful for the conversation. It's awesome, to be able to get in and really dissect kind of the different opinions and the different takes that are going out there and try to balance that honestly with kind of what we're hearing from the organization, at least what their plan is, because that doesn't mean that their plan is the right one. It just means this is what they're at least trying to do. We've seen other teams come in, other eras and regimes coming with plans and it didn't work out. Some coming with plans and it did. So I definitely appreciate all the conversation, and definitely shout out to everybody being on. Diamond, definitely salute, brother. Jalen, man, look, we got a lot of work this summer, man. We got a lot of work this summer.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna be getting it in. Steve, man, again, I'm proud of you, man. Like I don't even know if that's what we say in this community or whatnot, but I'm legitimately proud of you. I know that you're a professional in this. We say this all the time behind the scenes. I know you handle your biz, college professional, a professor and a professional, but it's still awesome when you see people kind of take a step forward in their own journey. And you're continuing to do that, man. Yeah, you're somebody I definitely respect. And I just want to make sure I gave you some flowers on the day of your first show. I know you got a lot more lined up, and we have some stuff that we're gonna start dropping too. We've been saving some
Steve, it was nice. It was nice. I know my mic been messed up. My bad, Sean. I just had caught you.
No, all good, man. All good.
I gotta say, I gotta get a better setup, but nice meeting you, Steve, man. Jalen's always nice. Sean, I always retweet Sean and Kool-Aid, man. Shout out to my boy Kid Kool-Aid too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to retweet
Shout
my
out,
man.
Started the show with us.
Yeah. Man, I'm always for the good kids in the community. I'm doing something with the boys Saturday. I'm doing it with PL. For with the Pistons. And then we're gonna have a couple Michigan athletes there with me and Kid J. We're doing something for the youth and autism and all that type of stuff Saturday. So support and autism that, man.
Man, no, I appreciate you
a lot for
being here. Yeah, definitely appreciate you being here. I'll continue to pray for Kid J and keep his all his endeavors, man, just on the forefront. He's crushing it, man. His music is hot. I like what he's doing, and keep the message positive, and stand on that. I like it. But I saved my last. I saved Sean for last, man. Definitely. Stay tuned. We got some stuff always in the works. Sean and I have just been planning. I wanted to make sure that I got some of these other shows up and off the ground. It's a lot going on, but with the summer here, there is some crazy content coming. And it's going to be across a plethora of channels. It definitely will be. So stay tuned to that. We got some new stuff coming. Sean, you ready to take over the road, bro?
Absolutely, man. Thank y'all. We're gonna take over the world this summer, man. That's the plan. And with that, folks, we thank you for helping us do that. We'll slowly and surely every week. We will catch you guys next time on Woodward Pistons Table Talk. Subscribe.